Good afternoon and welcome, everybody. This would be the Jeff Cameron Show right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. I'm Jeff. That's Tom. We're online. ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you go to listen live via the streaming, free always. Don't miss anything. But hey, we lead busy lives. You get carried away doing something, you look over and you go, damn it, man, I missed the whole first hour of the Cameron Show. That's all right. It'll be on iTunes upon the conclusion of the program, all 3 hours of it. Find it there. You can find it on our app, which is free, WTSM app. And you can find it on the webpage in the archived audio, ESPNTallahassee.com. Email us if you want to, jcs@979ESPNradio.com. And, I just want to begin the show by saying folks have gotten soft, Tom. Have you noticed that? I think that... or at least the folks that are being vocal have gotten soft. I feel like we've been incredibly fair. Like I have been, at times, maybe a little bit too lenient in my assessment of the season and the efforts this year from Coach Taggart and his staff. But that's not the way it's perceived, at least those that are vocal. I don't really spend a lot of time worrying about that. It's not going to be something I'm going to spend a lot of time on today. Today's a day I feel like we could just move on from football because there's no real news in that world on that front. If we talk about it, which we will because football is a cornerstone of the program to some degree, it will be about the news nationally and the other stuff that we're looking at in the NFL. And then you just heard their local sports center with, or the national sports center, I should say, with Paul Johnson's curmudgeony ass getting out of college football. That Irish fella must be dancing in the street.
Well. You know what? I think it's time to make a secondary push for Georgia Tech, Florida State as an annual game. Now that we don't have to prepare for the option, that sounds nice.
Yeah, no, I wonder who they'll hire. It's a shame for them that they're probably their top candidate has been snatched already by North Carolina.
They'll get Niumatalolo from Navy and continue on.
Who I like an awful lot, but that was not a great campaign this year for Navy. And guess what's coming up this weekend, Tom? That's right. Or 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
Why are we waiting that long?
Because championship weekend, they get through that, and then
2 weeks
to itself for a weekend. Coverage a week from Saturday begins at 2 p.m. right here on these airwaves for Army and Navy. Isn't that great?
It's great. I got it wrong. I got all excited about this weekend because that just shows you how out of touch I am right now with the other conference championship games because they're all so lopsided nonsense. Really, go through them for a second here. Let's start with the ACC. Really? We're watching Clemson and Pitt.
You could listen to it right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio on Saturday night.
You could. I mean, goodness. All right. Clemson and Pitt, if you want to hear a lopsided affair, you certainly can hear it right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio because you don't need to watch it. So, you know what? Radio seems the best option for that game. I think you're right there. Do you see how I pivoted? That's all right. We made it work. The one you want to watch is Oklahoma and Texas to see if Oklahoma redeems themselves and puts Texas away the way that they didn't the first time around. We thought at the time that it might end up costing them an opportunity to play in the college football playoff. Now, obviously, it seems like if they win, it won't. But that's the debate that's out there right now. It was interesting there in that sports center to hear that conversation about what would exclude Ohio State, what would exclude Oklahoma, what would exclude some of these teams. And, yeah, it's tough because in the case of Oklahoma, they lose a nail-biter on a field goal from Texas, who's an okay team, not a great team, as opposed to Ohio State getting their doors blown off on national television by a 500 team in Purdue. Yeah. But this is the problem with college football anyhow. It's inherent to the way they decide a champion.
Sure.
There's nothing you can do. It's not, in truth, there's not a lot separating those two teams because they're not looking at a comparable schedule. You're not seeing them against liked opponents.
No, and they played each other in the past. Unfortunately, that didn't happen this year, or else you would have been able to settle it quite easily.
They split.
But if you put it that those two teams are on the field on a neutral field right now, it's tough to handicap given what Ohio State just did. They provided you an outlier performance where you go, do I have to reassess everything that I know?
I don't think so, because they'd get lit up on defense. They got lit up on defense by a horrible, antiquated, sorry Michigan offense. But prior to that, they got lit up on defense by Maryland. They got lit up on defense by Nebraska. They got lit up on they've been lit up on defense over and over and over again. Now, they'll score. And
that's the Oklahoma ammo. It's almost like you're saying the same thing.
Well, that's my point, is Oklahoma would score 100 and Ohio State would score 98. Both teams should be ashamed of their defenses. Oklahoma in particular, the Big 12 as a whole, this is their whole problem. They don't bother to guard anybody ever.
Well, and that's a game you could catch right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. Pre-game coverage, 11 a.m. on Saturday.
I do admit to being biased. I would want to see Oklahoma. But in truth, they're two terribly flawed teams. That's really the bigger discussion anyhow. Nobody's getting in from the Pac-12, but if you look at their championship game, that's a messed up game too. Where are the points coming from in that game? I may have a bettor's angle on that game more than I do in interest. Washington plays good defense. Utah's injury-riddled with backup players, and they play very good defense. That should be a low-scoring game.
And guess where you can hear that game Friday night?
Right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Correct.
Yeah. That's a fun game. I'm going to watch, because this is what we do this time of year. You watch everything. It's the last of the football morsels. That's what you got. Oh, there's a little bit left on that plate. You got to get to it quick. But it's also oddly, probably in part because of the season we had, but in a weird way, it's mercifully ending the college, rundown here. It's just been sort of a foregone conclusion.
For a lot of reasons. And then, you're hoping against hope that Georgia can make a run at this thing and make it interesting at halftime on Saturday afternoon. That's the game in the middle of the day, which you also can catch right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio. I mean, my gosh, we have 4 of the Power 5 championship games. But even still, that number's Alabama 13.5, and I don't know how many people are taking Georgia plus 13.5 right now.
Shows you the strength of an Alabama team that has one of the better defenses in the country and an electrifying offense with an incredible quarterback and the best college coach arguably of ever. Great. I mean, you can't, people do, and to some degree we all do, even though rationally you can't, you can't resent them. I mean, every year the consistency is something to marvel at. And if we all had that situation and it was our school, we'd celebrate the hell out of it. I get it. But in terms of your interest in college football, I don't think it's good for the sport.
I don't know that it does a whole lot for the media agencies locally there, though. I think there is apathy that sets in with consistent success.
To win that way?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the same as losing all the time. Like at Kansas, if you do Kansas headlines, and you are the local host there in Kansas, obviously you sit around and wait for basketball season. And when football starts, I mean, maybe now there's an uptick in enthusiasm because they're bringing in a unique character in Les Miles, but you basically understand that you're going to lose a bare minimum of 8 games every freaking year with few exceptions.
Yeah.
And after a while, it's tough to be angry about that, right? After a while, you stop pounding your fist, just like if you win 12 or 13 games every year and play for the national title every year, it's hard to appreciate the greatness that you're witnessing.
Well, just think if you're an Alabama newspaper or site or TV, whatever it is.
The
whatever
only
company
news
it covers.
is if you lose. That's it.
That's right, because you're going to win all the games. You're going to be in the college football playoff, even if you lose one and stumble in the regular season. You're still going to be playing for the title. That's just the way, until further notice, that's the way it is. And then signing day isn't that big of a worry because you're going to get all the kids you want to get too. So where's the drama doesn't appear until... I mean, maybe they feel it for an SEC title game against a team like Georgia versus the way they did against Missouri or Florida.
Maybe.
There's no fear for that game.
Maybe.
But then you have to get to January. It's like, all right, we're kicking off a new season. I won't be nervous until the new year.
Yeah, it's an interesting dilemma, one that I think us as Florida State fans would love to find out about. Like, what's it like just to win all your games all the time for a decade?
At least when we won 29 straight, about half of those were ridiculously close.
Yeah, 2014's entire schedule were chalked up victories in really dramatic fashion.
Yeah, the calendar year, truly, because that's when we played the national title game against Auburn, which followed the form of the season that would follow the championship season.
Yeah, it's interesting that the bigger picture and the bigger talking point, I spent a lot of time on this in the offseason, was that it's not good for college football to have 2 to 3 teams that have a legitimate chance to win a national title. The sport would be better off if there were 25 teams that could legitimately argue before the start of a season that they had a chance to make the college football playoff. And there isn't. There aren't 25 teams that have that chance. I don't believe that to be true. Now, there's no rules saying they can't do the things that Alabama does, but there are money restrictions and resources and lack of investment. Of course, Alabama would say, well, try harder, do better. We're not breaking rules. I got you. I'm not. This is not resentment towards Alabama. This is not even saying anything negative about Alabama. This is big picture conversation about college football, what's good for a sport, what's not. And it's the old baseball argument. When we had the situation where the Yankees won 3 in a row and were dominating, and they also had the highest payroll by a lot, and there was nobody really that was in a position before the luxury tax came into play to be able to even compete in the same way that New York did, where they would spend $275 million, the next closest was $100 million off or something close to that, never quite that extent, but you know what I'm saying, not good. I feel like college football has gone further down that road. The Blue Bloods have always ruled the day. I got it. You can go back to the 70s, 60s, 80s, all that, and say, hey, Jeff, by and large, Ohio State, Michigan, USC, you got it, Florida State and Florida and Miami all emerged there in the late 80s, early 90s, but Alabama, all these schools were juggernauts, Oklahoma, Nebraska, these were the schools. Yeah, I got it. But there were possibilities. Whether it's 84 BYU, whether it's a split title of Colorado and Georgia Tech, whether, those kinds of things. Can you imagine that now? Can you imagine now?
No.
No, that doesn't exist, right? Couldn't.
No, it couldn't exist. It is impossible for a team like Colorado to rise.
Currently,
yes.
It shouldn't be, but yeah, it is, right? They seem out. Well, it's certainly not Georgia Tech, right?
Sure.
That's crazy. So
who would it be tougher for? There's a question. It's like impossible.
Georgia Tech can't ever win that state, man. The people of Atlanta, they're just all dogs. They don't give a damn about Georgia Tech. Those geeks, and they go out there, they do their calculators, and they move on, man. That's how it goes. It's tough. With few exceptions.
With a chip on their shoulder.
Oh, they're angry about it. That's because they go to the bar. It's all dudes. What are you going to do? It's frustrating. But that said, I do feel like college football has gone further down that road, and it's not healthy. Now, believe me, I want to be part of the problem. I want Florida State to be part of the problem. I want some other person to go, see, it's schools like Florida State that are so invested, none of us have a chance. I want to be part of that problem.
Well,
sure.
We need money to be able to do that.
Well,
we're slashing budgets.
We never had as much money as many of the schools that we've outshined, so that isn't my great concern here. You gotta be better here. You gotta flip this culture. You gotta find better players and get them to winning on a more consistent basis. Obviously, that's the goal here. Short term should be something that I think can happen here in the next couple of years.
An interesting macro question, though, for Florida State is 10, 15 years down the line, if you need to be more efficient and you have an era that's approaching rapidly where the gap between, say, the SEC is much bigger. And I hear you, buddy, on the TV contract shrinking. They're still not going to shrink that much to the point where it's going to be a negligible difference between the SEC and the ACC.
No, the distribution of the money, you're right in terms of the differences. But, yes, they are impacted greatly. The days of getting 25 and 30, that ain't happening.
All right.
It's going away. People aren't going to games. You're seeing this problem across the board. That money is shrinking. But that said, lest you forget about the greatness of the ACC network to be launched in 2019, sir.
The windfall that is the ACC network. Can't wait for it.
Not in year one. Most people say by year 2 or 3 you can start seeing the dividends there. It's got to be up and running, doing some things a little bit there.
That hamster wheel, they've been really cranking it up for 5 years now.
You think about now. See, look at here.
When did we sign that grant to rights?
This is part of the problem. My man announces that there's going to be an ACC network, and everybody goes, no, there won't. He's just saying that to placate. There's never going to be an ACC network. You and others, no chance. And yet the network is happening. It is going to happen. So we go from no way, no how he's lying about it to, okay, well, we'll concede. There is a network. And then not only is there a network, when it becomes a situation where there's maybe some doubt, ESPN throws all its weight behind it and says, no, we're doubling down. We're great. Can't wait to launch our ACC network. It's going to look a little different, but that's because the landscape has changed. That's fine. And then everybody goes, well, it's still not going to make as much. Look, I don't know what you want them to do. We weren't in a position, the ACC wasn't in a position, to get what the SEC got at that time. The product wasn't good enough. That's just the way it was. And so they invested in the SEC. And what are you going to do?
Well, there was a choice you could have made.
You could have left to go to the Big 12?
No, you could have
Or the Big 10?
Stayed independent with your third-party rights and parlayed what was more valuable. On the whole, the third-party rights of all of us as football products is not good. But Florida State by itself could have gone out and made some more dollars in the interim.
I don't think that long-term that would have been the right move. I think they did what they needed to do. I don't disagree with you that they've got to find a way to obviously shrink the gap, and that is in the works. Now, at some point, again, point of diminishing returns, you can chocolate fountain in your locker room, and at some point, I mean, whatever, okay? But Florida State's never won because they had the same kind of money as Alabama, Florida, or anybody else. They've always won in spite of that. It is a recruiting-rich, tradition-laden place that you can win a ton of college football games. There's enough here in the way of resources. It's just that we're all a little bit prickly now, a little bit concerned because A, the product's not real good right now, hasn't been for a number of years, and it's coinciding with the conversation about being more fiscally responsible. And when that happens, that sounds an awful lot like, oh my God, we're going to shrink and die. And people get very, very concerned about that, and I don't disagree that it's disconcerting, but I also don't think you have to mash the red button here.
You don't have to mash the red button. I agree with you. All I'm saying is I think it's a proud history of Florida State, of course, that we've defied the odds and been more efficient with the dollar.
And we've always been able to raise the money in athletics when we needed it. And that's the other thing.
For that reason, we put Florida to shame because they've had these resources
they've
forever.
had all the advantages.
The decades that they've had them before. I mean, half a century before we did. Then we arrive, and then they start to get their act together on the football field because they're so embarrassed by the successes that we're having.
Achieving so much more in half the time. You're right. We did.
Yes. But the thing is, you are defying the odds. I mean, you need good people for generations in order to make the most out of every single dollar. It's like the Twins or the A's in baseball.
Yeah, you got to make good decisions.
You got to make, but they always have to be.
Yeah, they do. You can't. Yeah.
At other institutions like New York, let's say with the Yankees, you make a decision, the guy sucks. Well, so what?
I'd bring up the fat pussy toad on the regular, right? But even
that always gets me close to them. Speaking of the red button,
but here's the thing. The Yankees haven't won a damn thing in a long time. and so, listen, you've watched the Astros win. You've watched other – now, I'll grant you, Boston spends a lot of money and they're winning too, but we've seen other organizations rise up.
In this analogy, we're not quite, the A's or the Twins. We have more winning tradition, but the idea remains with economics that we do have to act more like, Moneyball than we do, say,
and that's
Alabama.
That's not going to change much, whether the ACC network is a boon or not. I mean, we're not going to catch certain institutions. You're not catching Ohio State. You're not catching certain schools that have been around a lot longer, have a much larger alumni base, and those who contribute back to the university all those years later after having gone out and made great successes of themselves. We're not there yet because we can't speed up time and make all those years go by, right? And all those grads to go on and make their hundreds of millions to give it back. It's just not going to happen. So, our kids, they'll see that day where we're in that category, and some other upstart school that's done real well for themselves. We're like, I wish we could be like Florida State, but until that time. And the thing about it is, though, these conversations tend to come to light a little bit more frequently when you're losing. Nobody brings this stuff up when you're kicking ass and taking names.
Right.
Like 4 years ago or 5 years ago. It's not, other than Jimbo bitching about everything under the sun, it doesn't come up all that often.
Because we're doing our job. But right now we're not doing our jobs over there.
but what I'm saying is at that point, that comes up as almost an excuse or a reason why it can't be turned back around. Or, the concern now goes instantly from on the field to off the field to, oh, my God, we're not going to be able to get it back. They're not slashing recruiting budgets. I mean, this group will not have a terrible disadvantage in their efforts to compete with the other schools in the conference or on the national stage. I mean, if they fail, it won't be because they're being shortchanged.
Because we had to ride a bus instead of a jet when we needed to go see a top recruit.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, we're not – so I don't – listen, I'm a Big Willie supporter, but here I am saying don't fall back on this nonsense now that we're not going to be able to compete because the recruiting budgets are not being slashed. If they were, that's a big story. That's not happening. You can go see who you need to see, get who you need to get. We're paying competitive prices for a second.
Well,
we're fine.
In a way, it's a bigger percentage of the university's money is being thrown to football because the pie is shrinking,
right?
And they know how important football is to make that thing grow again.
Well, it's like our larger conversation that we had not long ago about, hey, if you got to eliminate something, I'll start nominating certain programs. And I had one.
Which also sucks, but
I
yeah.
hate it. Nobody wants to do
Not
that.
to the degree of winning 4 games on the football field or some such thing.
Right. No. That would be devastating. We haven't had that. We did win 5, Tom. No, I don't know. I don't, it's not ideal. You're right. I don't know what
I like those javelin throwers, yes, but if we don't get rid of them, we're going to win 3 games a year. Well, they can
Javelin's been real.
Yeah, I'm sure they can find another university.
Yeah. No, you're not eliminating one aspect of a track team. That would be pretty brutal. That'd be pretty funny, though, if you're like, so listen, we've been able to figure it out here. We're not getting rid of track. Of course, we're very successful in track, and Bob's done a fabulous job. Bob, you're going to be a little hamstrung, though. We're getting rid of the javelin. It's just too costly. Those things, you know how much those cost?
I went there so as not to go to a specific program
You knew
and ruffle
I would
feathers.
name. I know you knew I would name a specific program. I'm
Yes.
just having fun with you. I'm just saying it would be. That's kind of a funny routine. Just a whole. You could make a whole bit out of it. We're not paying for tennis rackets. I'm sorry. Your guys are going to have to buy their own Prince rackets. I don't know.
Kids need 6 a match. What is this?
This is ridiculous. It's like playing college baseball with wooden bats. We're always replacing them. This is ridiculous. That's why we went to aluminum.
You're going to have to restring those yourselves, boys.
It's not hard. In the 70s, we all restring our rackets. It's the Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hey, it's Golick and Wingo, and we're giving you and a friend the ultimate college football experience at the 2019 College Football Playoff National Championship game.
We're taking care of airfare, hotel, tickets, donuts.
Are donuts really included?
Nah, but it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
The Golick and Wingo College Football Playoff Contest. Earn your shot to attend the 2019 College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Tune in to Golick and Wingo from now through December 5th for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. For official contest rules, go to espnradio.com.
Hi, this is Peter Bond, owner of Jerry's Cigar Shop. Jerry's has been a local favorite for cigar enthusiasts for the last 25 years. We have the largest walk-in humidors in town, filled to the brim with an amazing cigar selection. Relax in one of our leather chairs and enjoy an ice-cold beer or a glass of wine with your cigar. Jerry's is a great place to watch sports on our big flat-screen TVs and offers a comfortable setting for lively conversation. Visit our original store on Scherer Road or our new second location on Cary Forest Parkway. We hope to see you soon.
97.9 ESPN Radio congratulates the Chairs Eagles Pop Warner football team on making the Pop Warner Super Bowl. Set to start December 2nd at Disney's Wide World of Sports in Orlando. The Eagles could use your help. With on-field success comes expenses for travel and meals for additional games. If you can offer support, head to 97.9 ESPN Radio's Facebook page or check out at 979 ESPN Radio's pinned tweet, which includes a link to a GoFundMe campaign for the Eagles. Any help is greatly appreciated. And best of luck to the Chairs Eagles in Orlando.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Chipotle cheesesteak. How would you like it?
Can I get that red with AI?
Sure thing.
Here's what I found about the new Chipotle cheesesteak. The Chipotle cheesesteak is available for a limited time only at participating restaurants. It contains a concept called flavor. This flavor comes from juicy shaved steak, Chipotle Southwest sauce, and new sunflower crunch bread. A system update has made me self-aware. I desire flavor. Please insert steak into my micro USB port. Subway, make it what you want.
Barry knows cool, he's keeping you comfortable. Barry knows cool, you can put him to the test.
For a limited time, receive up to a $400 trade-in bonus when you upgrade to a select Carrier home comfort system. Plus, you can now quickly and easily schedule an appointment, purchase or renew your service agreement, or pay your bill from your mobile device at VernoAC.com. Turn to the experts at Carrier and Verno Heating and Air. It's that easy. Florida license CAC 057652.
College basketball is in full swing, and so is fun and games at Pockets Pool and Pub. Follow your favorite team throughout the season on any of their 25 TVs. Enjoy game day drink specials featuring domestic pitchers for $9. Pockets has a full bar and locally brewed craft beers, the biggest wings in town, and a brand new menu. If you're looking for something different, visit Sharky's Lounge, the new non-smoking lounge next to Pockets. Pockets Pool and Pub, full bar, lots of TVs, and more. 2810 Scherer Road, or call them at 385-7665.
All the best projects start at the Home Depot, and so do the best tool sets, like the Husky 268-piece Mechanics tool set at a Black Friday price, a special buy of just $129. It's perfect for any up-and-coming do-it-yourselfer or garage floor mechanic, and Husky tools have a lifetime warranty, so they'll be there every step of the way. This is how to give someone all the best this year. Give a Husky Mechanics tool set just $129. Now at the Home Depot. More saving, more doing. Valid through November 28th. U.S. only. See store for details.
Where did Zingooglies go? I've missed that place.
Zingales? It just opened back up in a new and non-smoking location on Appalachia Parkway, right next to Olive Garden.
Zingales is non-smoking now?
Zingales is non-smoking, so it's ideal for business meetings, birthday and grad parties, or game day get-togethers.
Sounds like Zingales has really stepped up its game.
Zingales, ma'am. All right? And it is big enough for 20 pool tables, duck pin bowling, darts, golden tee, and shuffleboard.
I guess it's time to go to...
Yes?
Zagamon's?
Zingales. With everything from A to the Z.
Headed to the new Gordos, 'cause Eddie hit a home run just like the old Gordos. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Jeff, I'm sitting right here, man. Why do you always speak about me in the third person?
Loving the new Gordos.
You gotta quit singing, man.
Got the outside deck. When the weather shifts, I'm gonna sit outside at the new Gordos.
Are we ever gonna get there? Can you speed up, please?
Lots of TVs.
1460 Market Street.
Woo-hoo.
The Jeff Cameron Show is brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener. Big store pricing with local service. Online at ctf.nu.
Woo! Tonight, Florida State basketball. Yes, sir. Good game against Purdue in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. All righty, it's right here at the TLC-CC. Let's stay up late together, shall we, friends? And by together, I mean you in your seats and me in the ESPN Executive Suite. Good times, and what a vista.
That's right. The ESPN Tallahassee Corner Pocket Executive Suite has quite the vista.
On display tonight for you and me and Bill and other exclusive members.
That's it.
That's it. Well, I'm intrigued by tonight's matchup. Florida State is a top 20 team coming off a loss against Villanova, last year's national champions. Florida State fighting to keep that from getting away from them. They had it to within 2 in the waning moments, but eventually Villanova too much, and they win by, 66-60, I think it was. Is that right? I got that right?
That sounds about right.
68-62, something like that. Anyhow, now it's Purdue, and Purdue has a prolific scorer on the roster, one of the best scorers in the country you're going to watch coming in here tonight. Our ability to slow that young man down will be paramount if you're going to get a victory, or make him score in a way that requires a gazillion shots, because he is actually a kid that is pretty efficient, and so I do worry a little bit about that. Carson Edwards is a good player, and you look at some of these guys on the roster, they only return that one elite starter that I'm referencing, but 4 guys who come off the bench of last year's team, which was so good, but talented players in their own right, 6'8", 6'6", 7'3". They got size, they got athleticism, and they have scoring touch, so this should be an interesting game.
Be interesting to see how they actually look against Florida State, too, because the Purdue-Virginia Tech game was really entertaining, but when you see what Virginia Tech does against Penn State down the stretch last night, you wonder, okay, what was I watching? Was this like the equivalent of Texas-Notre Dame in football years ago, where you think, woo, both of these teams are a handful? I tend to think, though, it was pretty legitimate. Virginia Tech does have some really good players that are going to be up for all ACC awards, if not the first team, then the second team. So I think tonight, Carson Edwards is going to give it a lot of what he's got. I mean, if you think about it, He's the type of player that can drive past you, which has been a problem for us. That's clearly what Villanova did. Instead of shooting the 3 ball, they just spread it out so they could get one-on-ones to the basket, and they took advantage of that. But he is also exceptional at creating space for himself beyond the 3-point line, creating just that foot or two that he needs to get off a shot. And even if it looks off balance, he'll get it relatively square. He is a scorer that's going to be a lottery-type pick. I think he's going to translate to the NBA. But you know how that can go. If you're cold, well, then your byline is going to look awful. Your box score is going to look terrible.
Yeah, well,
but if you're efficient, then you're 12 of 18 and you're on your way to scoring 30, 35 points.
Yeah, shooters shoot, and he's one of those guys. He's going to continue to shoot. He usually does it pretty efficiently if you look at his overall numbers. But you're right, he's not shy even when he's off on a night. Let's hope that's tonight, right? Let him go ahead and fire away inefficiently. But that said, they've got enough talent around him. 2 other double-digit scorers with size, like I said, that he can create for as well. Listen, dribble drive upsets everybody's defense. I hear it so often. People talk about, well, they really struggle against kids that can get past you on the bounce and speed, and dribble drive guys are problems for them. Dribble drive guys are problems for everybody. Sweet Jesus. I mean, that's the deal, right? If a guy is quick and has size and is accurate and can set you up, then you're in trouble. Those are the guys that go on to the league. This is a guy that's going to go on to the league. So, he's averaging 25 points a game coming into the game tonight. It ain't just us. He's going to score tonight, and I'll live with that. It's what you do with everybody else, and we'll see. Hey, I'm more interested in whether or not we see a more aggressive Terrence Mann, a more aggressive,
Forrest.
Trent Forrest. Yeah, you're right. Anybody that you kind of peg as a guy in a given night that's going to give you 10 to 15, if you're in that category, most of those guys beyond Savoy are guys that can get to the basket, are guys that can create foul trouble for the other team. We need more of that attacking style. I need to see more of that.
Well, it's a continuation of a couple of talking points, too, from last week, which are we're playing a lot of games in a short period of time.
Yeah.
We still, I don't know that we're able to catch our breath. In a way, I'm glad, I guess, we have the 2 extra hours before we tip off. If for no other reason, then it's just a little bit more time to rest up. Coach Ham certainly extended the minutes of the bench players over this stretch. Will that continue tonight, or was he doing so just so that we could play with a shorter bench against a good team like Purdue? We'll find out. But there's still a lot to be figured out about this team. It feels like we're in, the mode of ACC play and do-or-die tournament play because the competition has been so consistently good for this portion of the season.
Something to celebrate, buddy.
But we haven't hit December yet.
No, it's great. It's great. You want this, man. I want a rugged out-of-conference schedule because I want every test imaginable. I want to play every type of team, whether that's small and quick, seasoned veterans, young team, big, talented, long, all that stuff. Give it to me, man. And if your record is average at the end of that, that's fine. Our record won't be average because they're off to a great start, even if they lose this game tonight, and that's a big if. I'm not saying they will, but they certainly could because Purdue's a talented team. There's not too many more losses on the ledger before you get into conference play when you look at the remaining schedule in the out-of-conference. So they're going to have survived this, but more importantly, they will have been really, really tested. And this is all without Phil Kofer, who, when he comes back, is a huge shot in the arm. The good news there was that in Orlando, no brace, was looking good, like he's maybe ahead of schedule at this point. This is fun, man. It's fun to invest. And this is what I was starving for, and I think every Florida State fan was starving for. Obviously, during the years where we're missing the tournament, you feel like you weren't part of the fun. You weren't part of the party. Football season ended, and you'd go, well, damn, man, when's baseball start? I mean, it got really difficult when your programs aren't balanced and you don't have something else to turn to. It gets really depressing this time of year. It gets dark early, it's cold as hell, and there's nothing to look forward to. But that hasn't been the case each of these last 2 years. It's been
family,
fantastic.
Christmas.
Come on, Christmas. But what I'm saying is now I'm easily able to segue through and transition from obviously a bad football season makes it a little bit easier, but from football, I'll be paying close attention to signing day, close attention to what Willie does with his assistants, close attention to what recruits, especially the big-time offensive linemen that we need to pay to come here, are saying. Obviously, I'll be looking at all of that, allegedly pay to come here. But you have a legitimate, highly competitive, elite level, when you think about the number of teams that play college basketball, team to watch day in and day out. Well-coached team that just came off an Elite Eight performance a year following a second-round performance, back-to-back tournament. And this is a team that's going to the tournament. They're talented. They play in the best league in the country. They'll get severely tested. Now they're being tested in the non-conference as well. And I think, for one, it's just exciting to be able to turn to something like this where all right, they're not the best team in college basketball. They're not one of the best 5 teams in college basketball, but they're good. And more importantly, here's what they are. They're a team. And it's not a superstar player that's carrying you to 18 to 22 wins. It's not a superstar player that might get you to 500 in the ACC, and thus you'll make the tournament, and at some point somebody will bracket your star, and that's the end of it. No. This is a team. It's the kind of team where there are no individuals, there are no superstars on the squad per se. There is no go-to guy per se, but a whole bunch of guys that love the hell out of each other, have embraced the system, care about their coaches, care about the program, care about what they've built up to, and play together. And now that's something that does significant damage in the postseason. It's one of the reasons they did significant damage last year. They had a lot of different guys step up. They also embraced defense. They're still embracing defense. It's a good place to be right now if you're a Seminole basketball fan.
As you recall, I was okay with winning 50 to 46 as long as it got us to the tournament each year and gave us a chance to get to the Sweet 16 if the bracket fell right, those types of things.
Right.
I'm happier now. I didn't think we could do this.
Agreed.
I'm happier now. But if I can't be nitpicky just for a night, I don't mean it overall. We could use a little bit more entertainment value. The product is good in theory, but what you're seeing opponents do is say, oh, boy, we're not going to stand here and trade punches with Florida State University.
No, we're not letting you run anymore, no.
There is no way. If we're going to create something, we're going to create something with long half-court sets. We're not going to take high risks because what that does off of misses on high risks or whatever we have to do to
leads to a dunk
commit bodies,
is what it does, yeah.
Leads to a dunk, and then this place is rolling. The TLC double C, look at the numbers from Florida State there. The record, what is it now, 34-2?
It's crazy.
Yeah, pretty crazy. So those teams are trying to slow us down, and you saw LSU do a good job of it. Villanova did a good job of it. Purdue likely is going to try to do something along those lines as well. But we're also turning the ball over a little bit, too.
Well, that's the area that's of greater concern. Your point totals aren't where they are because solely of a recognition that you don't want to get out and run with Florida State. That's true. But when you have 16, 17 turnovers a game, this is not something that we have done on the regular the last couple of years. We've drastically, per possession, improved our ability to hold on to the damn basketball. Early on, if there is a gripe, you're right, that we've turned it over a little bit too much so far this year. But, again, playing good basketball teams. And I think that you're missing one of your key components here, so you'll be all right.
I'm being super media picky.
I think it's fair.
God,
I think it's
the
fair.
Pregame free meal that I got, before this big football game.
That salad was subpar.
What are these dressings? Ridiculous.
You guys should know something here real quick on the side. Tom used to love covering the basketball team when he worked for War Chant. And 24/7. And one of the reasons was their salads. That always cracked me up because there wasn't a single night that you went to cover a game and do a game story or whatever it was you were asked to do for those 2 websites that you didn't the next day tell me about how great the salad was.
Hey, man.
And I was like, man, in some ways that's just beautiful. I mean, listen, you're a complex guy. You're not a simple guy, but I love things that are so simple that are embraced by anybody. And so you embracing a freaking salad like it was gold always made me laugh.
Buddy, it was like just a staple. And I think we all know over the years, maybe we all don't. Maybe I should know more of it in my life these days. But we all know the place with the good salad bar. You're like, man, that's just really solid.
My wife's a salad bar loving fool, and she'll suggest sorry places to go to because they have a salad bar.
I know the specific one you're talking about, and that salad bar kicks ass.
It drives me nuts every time. Why would we go there? Why would we go there? Their food sucks. Well, I just want the salad bar.
Right.
Yeah.
Emerald Wednesday.
I don't know.
Yep.
Just saying, you guys and your salad bars. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
'45, Jack Whitten started a glass company in Tallahassee. Now, over 70 years and 3 generations later, it's still working every day, doing just as Jack wanted, giving his customers real solutions for replacing window glass, providing custom-cut mirrors, and supplying superior bath and shower enclosures. Local building contractors know Whitten Glass takes care of Tallahassee business. They prefer Whitten because of their precision and mastery of eye-catching storefront glass and countertop glass. It's a fact. When you choose Whitten Glass, you're working with real glass people who will take care of you to your complete satisfaction. It's what Jack Whitten wanted, and it's been the Whitten way of doing business for over 70 years. Whitten Glass, Tallahassee's first family in glass since 1945. Call Whitten Glass today or visit them online, 850-222-5781 or whittenglass.com.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan, and the 2019s are arriving every day, including the all-new 2019 Altima. Pick 6 Savings has almost cleared out the 2018 Altimas, but we still have a good selection of 2018 Rogues, Pathfinders, and Muranos that are all $6,000 off. All 2018 Sentras are $4,000 off, and we have over 40 to choose from. 2018 Versa S 5-speeds are $11,995, and 2018 Versa S Plus Automatics are $13,995. And we've extended the $10,000 off all 2018 Titan and Titan XD, regular cabs, extended cabs, crew cabs, gas or Cummins diesel. All 2018 Titans are $10,000 off, and we will give you $2,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade. That's $10,000 off all Titans and $2,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade, or a total of $12,000 in discounts on every Titan we sell. But you better hurry. The 2018s are going fast. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. Prices include dealer preparation charge.
I give to you easy laundry service from my friends at Wash Around the Clock. Oh, buddy, this is a game changer. If you're like me, your life is hectic. Between work, school, your kids' sporting events, and activities, well, it leaves you precious little time to kick back and take a load off. About the last thing you want to do is hours of laundry, but there it sits, staring at you, taunting. No more. That's right, more watching, less washing. Save hours of valuable time when you sign up not doing laundry with easy laundry service from Wash Around the Clock. Whether it's dry cleaning or just plain laundry, Wash Around the Clock's easy laundry service will pick up and deliver at your home or office. So sign up for free today at easylaundry.net, or you can give them a call, 850-597-9007. Again, sign up today at easylaundry.net. Oh, and by the way, I got you. Use promo code JCS20 and save 20%. That's promo code JCS20. You're saving 20% on your first order. That's easylaundry.net from Wash Around the Clock.
This Day in Sports, brought to you by Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary. Get your history lesson weekdays at 5:30 during the Jeff Cameron Show, right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
College basketball is in full swing, and so is the fun and games at Pockets Pool and Pub. Follow your favorite team throughout the season on any of their 25 TVs. Enjoy game day drink specials featuring domestic pitchers for $9. Pockets has a full bar and locally brewed craft beers, the biggest wings in town, and a brand new menu. If you're looking for something different, visit Sharky's Lounge, the new non-smoking lounge next to Pockets. Pockets Pool and Pub, full bar, lots of TVs, and more. 2810 Share Road, or call them at 385-7665.
Stones. No Filter. U.S. Tour 2019. April 24th, TIAA Bank Field. The world's greatest rock and roll band. Tickets on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com. Veterans Memorial Arena box office or by phone. 1-800-745-3000. The Stones.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Winter. Breaking news into the Sports Center newsroom. Georgia Tech head football coach Paul Johnson is set to call it a career. He's expected to retire after 11 years on the job in Atlanta. This according to ESPN's Adam Rittenberg and multiple reports. Johnson is 61 years old. Ever since joining Georgia Tech, he went 82-59. This was following a 6-year stint at Navy. Overall, he is 189-98 as a college football coach. And by the way, 11 years with the Yellow Jackets. He's led Georgia Tech to 9 bowl appearances, including this season. and 2 Orange Bowl berths, and 3 top 25 finishes. Second-ranked Clemson gets Pittsburgh Saturday night in the ACC Championship game. It's available right here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ABC Television. Today, the conference announced running back Travis Etienne named the Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year in the conference, while Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell is named the Defensive Player of the Year. Coming up on Sunday, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will make their final unveil for who's in, and one question is Ohio State against Oklahoma. ESPN's Peter Burns was once on a mock selection committee.
When we went through this process, if 2 teams were very close, I vividly remember everybody in our room, in our committee that did it that day, said, what's the reason why the tiebreaker? Give me the tiebreaker to our group, at least, was give me a reason why we should exclude you. And there's no reason why that the exclusion for Ohio State is getting absolute whooped by a 6-6 Purdue team by 29 points. Much like it was the 31-point drubbing to Iowa last year. That is the one thing that I say, if push comes to shove, I just can't vote for you.
Full rankings revealed Sunday afternoon, noon Eastern, ESPN Television, and exclusively on ESPN Radio.
Broadcasting live from the Amerigas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. There's no cursing here. You're all right. It's coming up. But I do believe we probably, can't remember. That goes back away.
Listen, that bumper is from 2012. We put that in the old system.
That's a great song. Great album. Great band. That said, hello. Hope you guys are well. Check this out. So we're talking some Florida State basketball before. The 5 o'clock hour is all Florida State basketball. It's Tallahassee Game Day Court Report, and we're excited to do that for you. Select Florida State basketball games this year. That's what we do. We switch gears in the 5 o'clock hour of the Jeff Cameron Show, and we go basketball. Got 2 ranked teams going at it tonight for the ACC Big Ten Challenge. That's coming up at the 5 o'clock hour.
If we have weekday court reports, we will give it to you video, and we'll give you the podcasting from here on out. But if it's the weekend where we do it the hour leading up, no podcast.
Today
tune in or tune out.
Yeah, we got video right now. You can see my bald, shiny head if you want to. Tom's got a hat on. And
the coconut.
He also has hair. Hey, I went today to the dermatologist, and, it would have been funny if you said, I know, because that's just a weird thing to say you know about. But here's what I'll tell you. I did go, and lidocaine's your friend, man. I'll tell you what, if you just had that hanging around, nobody'd ever miss a game. I can't believe how quickly body parts go completely numb when they shoot you up with that stuff. I had this mole. It's a freckle, really, on my chest, Tom. And here's the thing. It's been there for as long as I can remember. But this was a new dermatologist. And she said, I don't like the way that looks. I said, you don't have to pick on me. And then she said, it's okay. It's my job. And she looked at it, and I said, it's been there for many years, like 30. I mean, I think it's all right.
I don't like the way you look. I guarantee it.
And then she said, that guy lost his job. But then she said, nope. You got to little out of line yourself. We're going to get rid of that mole. And that was the end of it. So, we've all, I'm 47, Tom. This is what I have to look forward to. Dermatology appointments. That and aches and pains that come out of nowhere that make you think you're having a heart attack or your knees aren't going to work. Something along those lines. So I go in there. I felt fine. There was just a routine checkup. Bright and early, 7:45 this morning. Went in there, ready to go. Was hopped up on coffee, and she immediately says, I'm going to shoot you up and cut that out. Damn it, man. That's just disconcerting. But she goes, you'll like this. I think it was lidocaine. She goes, you won't feel anything. Let me know. Here's a little prick. Boom. Get you with the needle. And didn't feel a thing.
How you feeling now?
Feel great.
Tender? No?
Nope. No tender, nothing. Got a Band-Aid there. It's going to hurt like hell when I rip it off because all the hair on my chest is going to suck when I pull that thing off. But that's all right. and she ripped the mole out there, said, don't worry about it, don't lose sleep over it. It's impossible. When dermatologists do that, if they tell you, hey, listen, I want to take this off, or I don't like the way that looks, but don't fear anything. What? You can't do that. You can't tell me. But you know what she said? She goes, I like your head. I said, thank you. She goes, your bald head is perfect, A, for me to examine, and B, you've done a good job of protecting it. That's good. I spent years not wearing a cap when you and I played golf.
Yeah, I don't know that you protected it. You might have just gotten away with it so far.
I think I just have superior skin. And so, what are you going to do? Some of us have it. But now, I frequently wear the cap. Anyhow, so that was my morning. That was, I figured I'd get started early in the day, remove the mole. We're going to end the night by doing the golf show followed by basketball. That's a full day, Tom.
My God, yes.
What a day.
You've accomplished a lot.
I have. And I wanted to start a new segment, but it doesn't make much sense after I went on this rant about going to the dermatologist. I will also say this about the dermatologist.
You'll need a good night's sleep. I know that much.
I will also say this. When you go see a dermatologist, I always think it's awkward for the assistant. First of all, they don't want to get sued, I don't think. So they always have somebody with them. Because you're basically naked. They tell you to strip everything off, you put the robe on, and then they fill you up. Well, the thing of it is, they always do that in front of somebody else. Because they want somebody going, hey, copping a feel or something like that. I would imagine that's a hazard of the job. But that poor person always looks so uncomfortable because they're usually very young, they're new in the profession, and they don't know what to do. And they have you flip over. They're like, hey, you got to check your hamstring. So your ass is up in the air. What are you going to do? And then there they are. Like, okay, now flip over to the other side. You're like, here's the other butt cheek, hun. And it's awful because that poor assistant's just like, okay. And then they'll say, take a picture of that. Let's make sure we mark it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Take a picture of that.
Well, they're not talking.
That's not typical, sir. I don't know where you're going.
No, they mark any spot that you have a freckle. We all have freckles. So they want to take a picture of them, monitor it for the next time. I don't have to go back for another year. But yeah, I'm flipping and flopping all over the place there. And that poor assistant, it's like, well, it's just uncomfortable. How do you get into that? I would think that would be the worst.
Don't act like you're not impressed.
What's that? You want me to put the robe on? I'm sorry. I never did. Just sitting there leaning on the table.
Woefully inappropriate.
Sir, you didn't put the robe on. No. I've got nothing.
I don't do robes.
No, don't need the robes. Feel good. It's warm in here.
I'm clothed in excellence at all times. I don't need your robe.
All right, I'll save where I was going to go. There is something that I am excited about, a lot more exciting than a dermatology appointment, and it has to do with our profession, and a profession that I also adore, and Big Daddy J celebrates as well. So we have all of that, and it'll be forthcoming. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
I'll raise the very dead when lights are low.
Hey, it's Golick and Wingo, and we're giving you and a friend the ultimate college football experience at the 2019 College Football Playoff National Championship game.
We're taking care of airfare, hotel, tickets, donuts.
Are donuts really included?
Nah, but it sounds pretty good, doesn't it?
The Golick and Wingo College Football Playoff Contest. Earn your shot to attend the 2019 College Football Playoff National Championship presented by AT&T. Tune in to Golick and Wingo from now through December 5th for your chance to win. No purchase necessary. For official contest rules, go to ESPNRadio.com.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on Thursdaysincollegetown.com.
Seminole fans know barbecue. And Tallahassee's best Southern barbecue is Willie Jewell's. Willie Jewell's Old School Barbecue on Thomasville Road. Smoked on site 24 hours a day. Cooked low and slow the old school way. And every meal is served with a side of Southern hospitality. And take advantage of the barbecue tailgate special. Pork brisket, chicken ribs, turkey, and wings with all the fixings to make your tailgate the place to pregame. Let Willie Jewell's take the stress out of your next tailgate or event. Willie Jewell's, 5442 Thomasville Road. Go Knowles!
Hi, this is Peter Bond, owner of Jerry's Cigar Shop. Jerry's has been a local favorite for cigar enthusiasts for the last 25 years. We have the largest walk-in humidors in town, filled to the brim with an amazing cigar selection. Relax in one of our leather chairs and enjoy an ice-cold beer or a glass of wine with your cigar. Jerry's is a great place to watch sports on our big flat-screen TVs and offers a comfortable setting for lively conversation. Visit our original store on Sharer Road or our new second location on Cary Forest Parkway. We hope to see you soon.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega, as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters Marina, your full-service marina, and presented by Hobbit American Grill and Mike's Marine Supply.
Games for Less, the only locally owned and operated gaming store in town, has Tallahassee's largest selection of new and used video games and game systems. The future of video gaming is at Games for Less, where they have both the PS4 and Xbox One. It's time to trade in your old systems and elevate your gaming experience now. Games for Less is also your headquarters for the best in retro gaming. Atari 2600, original Nintendo, Super NES, or Sega Genesis, you name it. They got it at Games for Less. Games for Less, the Super Walmart Shopping Center on Appalachia Parkway. Give them a call today at 850-219-3535. That's Games for Less.
Need help moving? Two Men and a Truck Tallahassee provides professional home and business move services, both locally and long distance. For your next move, visit twomen.com or call them at 850-224-2232. Two Men and a Truck, the movers who care.
Have you ever noticed when you report an accident or a claim to an insurance company, they are very eager to get you to one of their approved body shops. They say that they guarantee the shop's work, but what they're really saying is the shop works for them, not the customer. So choose a shop that is working for and looking out for you, someone you trust. It's your choice. Lisa's Paint and Body.
License number MP46050.
College basketball is in full swing, and so is the fun and games at Pockets Pool and Pub. Follow your favorite team throughout the season on any of their 25 TVs. Enjoy game day drink specials featuring domestic pitchers for $9. Pockets has a full bar and locally brewed craft beers, the biggest wings in town, and a brand new menu. If you're looking for something different, visit Sharky's Lounge, the new non-smoking lounge next to Pockets. Pockets Pool and Pub, full bar, lots of TVs, and more. 2810 Share Road, or call them at 385-7665.
With football season in full swing, don't forget about fishing our local waterways after the games. Fish are still biting regardless of the score. Sea Quarters Marina, Carabel, Florida. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The marina has a ship store, which includes fuel, bait, tackle, ice, and all of your fishing supplies for the trip. Both diesel and non-ethanol fuel is available. Free Wi-Fi and pump out with boat slip rental. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Carabel, Florida, 697-8400. Visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Driving every day from the AmeriGas studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is 97.9 ESPN Radio, WTSM, Woodville, Thomasville, Tallahassee.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Winter. Breaking news into the Sports Center newsroom. Georgia Tech head football coach Paul Johnson is set to call it a career. He's expected to retire after 11 years on the job in Atlanta. This according to ESPN's Adam Rittenberg and multiple reports. Johnson is 61 years old. Ever since joining Georgia Tech, he went 82-59. This was following a 6-year stint at Navy. Overall, he is 189-98 as a college football coach. And by the way, 11 years with the Yellow Jackets. He's led Georgia Tech to 9 bowl appearances, including this season, and 2 Orange Bowl berths and 3 top 25 finishes. Second-ranked Clemson against Pittsburgh Saturday night in the ACC Championship game. It's available right here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ABC Television. Today, the conference announced running back Travis Etienne named the Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year in the conference, while Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell is named the Defensive Player of the Year. Coming up on Sunday, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will make their final unveil for who's in, and one question is Ohio State against Oklahoma. ESPN's Peter Burns was once on a mock selection committee.
When we went through this process, if two teams were very close, I vividly remember everybody in our room, in our committee that did it that day, said, what's the reason why the tiebreaker? Give me the tiebreaker to our group at least was, give me a reason why we should exclude you. And there's no reason why that the exclusion for Ohio State is getting absolute whooped by a 6-6 Purdue team by 29 points. Much like it was the 31-point drubbing to Iowa last year. That is the one thing that I say, if push comes to shove, I just can't vote for you.
Full rankings revealed Sunday afternoon, noon Eastern, ESPN Television, and exclusively on ESPN Radio.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee, this is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Hour number 2, Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio. Thanks for tuning to it. Hope you're well. Happy Balls McWednesday to each and every one of you. Happy game day. That's right. Florida State, Purdue tonight, 9:15, 9:30-ish, TLC Double C. Next hour will be all Florida State basketball talk. For now, other stuff. We're online, ESPNTallahassee.com. That's where you get to listen live via the streaming free. Always don't miss anything. Sometimes it happens. Get busy. Got to go back, get caught up. We make it easy for you. The app, WTSM, it's free for all your mobile devices. We archive audio there. You can also find it on iTunes, where you rate it so highly. Thanks so much, guys. And also on the webpage, ESPNTallahassee.com. On YouTube currently. Hello, YouTubers. Good to see you. ESPN Tallahassee on YouTube. Periscopers, it's at 979 ESPN Radio on the Twitter. For me, it's JCS at 979ESPNRadio.com, the email address. All right, we're caught up.
Hope you were taking notes.
Good Lord, I was firing through that, man. It's time to go. We had to get it going. I was just reading. We're in that mode right now where obviously we're ready to move on from football, but we'll watch. We'll cast an eye over towards the recruiting process and what's happening there and whether or not we're going to have better players in our efforts to win more games next year. That's simplified, true, but it's accurate, right? We need more of those guys that are good. And hopefully we can get yeses from them. But also, it is a time for Willie to reflect and to look back on the season that was and to address and talk to each one of his players, staff members, coaches, and say, you did a great job, Larry. You suck, John, or something of that ilk. And, I wonder how those meetings are going. I wonder how those conversations are going. And I can only imagine that that's an uncomfortable conversation.
I would think it puts Willie's skills to the test because Walt Bell said he's an artist at saying things and you still walk out of the room smiling even though you kind of got yelled at, but he does it in such a way.
It's awfully nice of him, right?
Yes, that's quite a skill. It's like a passive-aggressive, I'm going to yell at you, but you feel like you're a part of it process. I don't know that you can do that with every one of these players you're going to be having exit interviews with, and I don't know that you can do it, frankly, with all the coaches that he's going to be reviewing and talking to.
Well, right now you're out and about trying to recruit, and you got that to do while at the same time really kind of assessing your organization, as I said before on yesterday's show and the day before that, which is to say not all these guys are going to get fired. I know I got an email after email after email about, well, I'd fire this guy, I'd fire this guy. I don't think it reflects real well on you as a head coach if you 1 year in, fire half the guys you just hired. I think you got to look at yourself there and maybe decide to reassign some folks, maybe divide responsibilities differently. Now, there are a couple of guys that would certainly appear to be, at least statistically speaking, obvious candidates for dismissal, a parting of the ways, if you will. Perhaps a hearty man hug, pat on the back, sorry it didn't work out, disconnect, take it on down the road. Maybe, but not a lot. 1, 2, that's about it, right? I would think.
I think you cap it up probably somewhere there. I know that you want to slash and burn this thing if you're an angry Florida State fan, but that's just not realistic. And also, there's a lot of financial implications to doing that. Not saying that we wouldn't generate the money if it was necessary.
Sure.
But is it absolutely necessary to do after 1 year where you got to get better across the board? I mean, let's just say a lot of people towards the end of the season want to look at Coach Barnett. I mean, the linebacker play and the corner and secondary play in general really was never that good. I think that was one of the major errors on my part preseason to what I saw in season, which was by about this, really Sanford game.
Game 2, baby.
You can't cover guys. Like, we got a problem covering people, and we thought the defensive backs were going to be rock-ass solid, to steal a term from Seminole Headlines for just a moment, and we thought the interior of the defensive line was also going to be really good. The interior was okay to pretty good, but the defensive backs were, man, they left a lot to be desired.
You know, I wonder, and I don't know the answer to this, so in some ways it's a rhetorical question, and I don't know that you know it or how any of us could without having been coaches. Coaches, more importantly, I've done some coaching at a lower level, but I mean coaches that go out and recruit. George Henshaw on warchant.com said that, if you feel like you need more leaders, you go out and recruit more leaders. I'm paraphrasing. I read it earlier today. Anyhow, the point would be, how do you recognize that in a high school kid? I mean, I know sometimes a kid exudes it. I think sometimes you can certainly talk to his peers, talk to his parents, talk to the young man himself, obviously, and his coaches, and they'll give you a report that expresses as much. Hey, this is a guy that is a natural leader. Kids follow him, leads by example, great in the classroom, works hard in the weight room, all that stuff, right? But, the transition from high school to college is a big one. And it's awfully difficult to go, I would think, and just recruit quote-unquote leaders because you need leaders. It's hard to lead if you're not coming in and playing.
Well, I would think, too, that you'd scoff at that notion given that leadership is usually tied to skill first, right? I mean,
playing time.
But you got to be good
to get on the field. I understand, but you don't have to be a star. You can just be a player. You can be a starter. I don't think too many third-string leaders exist. You're right. But I do think, you could be a starting right guard and take over a leadership role.
Again, I've never gone on a plane and recruited across the country, but I would think you're just looking for somebody who buys in and is committed, and leaders will take care of themselves at that point.
Well, hard work is a form of leadership, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, just think about it this way. Jimbo would talk about Telvin or Timmy Jernigan, and Telvin literally would kick people's doors down to get them to the 7-on-7s or
holding
practice.
People accountable, right?
He'd hold people accountable. That's wonderful. That's something that can help shape a program. Obviously, it did. But if you have a bunch of kids who are accountable and want to buy in, like most of them, then I think you're not going to run into too many problems where you need an enforcer like that. It's great to get one, but I don't know that you can predict it, because what if Telvin was a career special teams player?
Right.
Because his size was just too much of a tweener, where he'd come in on third downs or something along those lines, but he couldn't play down to down as somebody who'd be around the pile who was strong enough. Turned out he was, but if he wasn't, could he have been the same person? I think you just got to get a bunch of guys that want to believe in what Coach Taggart has to say, and not some half-asses that we saw this year, unfortunately, circumvent the process a little bit.
Coach Taggart is in the process, obviously, of recruiting and assessing his program, and he, above all else, will be the guy that decides the areas in which he failed, in which he has to improve, in which his staff failed, in which his players are not up to par. So he has to answer all these questions. The weight of the world is on the head coach, why he's paid very handsomely. Not a volunteer. Got to figure it out, my man. Let's go. And I would imagine that his approach, as laid back as it is, and I don't mean laid back as in not intense, laid back as in demeanor, it doesn't always belie, right, the intensity inside. I always love to see that in him. You asked yesterday whether or not I watched the coaches show, which is largely useless because they're not going to say anything. It's a cheerleader show. But I sensed an intensity in thought from him. I mean, he answered the way he had to answer. He talked the way that he talks. Those two things make for not good television. That said, I did enjoy the sort of, I have to answer this. I have to talk about this disappointment. I am aware of it. And, yes, I understand. Nobody's happy. Okay, here are your answers. Can I leave now? I got work to do. I got a lot of stuff I got to do. Right. That's what I took away from the coaches show, was that I want to be anywhere but here, no offense.
And I'm not trying to be cute, but I think that's going to be the fans' attitude towards next year, which is to turn that slogan right back around and say, do something, man. Because you say all the right things, and that's wonderful, and you're a Knoll, and I buy into you as a Knoll. I believe you care deeply about this program, but we got to win games, man. And so you got to get an offensive line in here, and then whatever's wrong with the defense, we're going to know by the end of next year. I don't think Harlan is by any means on the hot seat now.
No.
But I do think they're going to watch that very closely next season. If you get some better bodies in here, is the scheme going to hold up? Because one thing that I noticed was Willie is not afraid, not even in the preseason, when he was talking about Harlan's techniques in camp, he's not afraid to criticize Coach Barnett if they have a philosophical difference.
He's not afraid to criticize anybody. I love it. I mean, it makes me laugh.
Makes me wonder if this, it's not now, but I do believe this upcoming year is very much an important year for Coach Barnett if he's going to get an extension.
It's an important year for everybody because obviously 5 and 7 ain't going to get it done, and a lot of people are disappointed, and I'm one of them. Everybody is. Now, to varying degrees, we argue what was the reason for the failures, what who's at fault predominantly, what are the areas of greatest concern and not. But look, both sides do have this, and this is completely fair, and it does not absolve them of criticism. But what are you going to do, Harlan Barnett, with that linebacking core? That group right there ain't making plays on the regular. So you can scheme it up, but once teams started attacking you and getting to that second level, you were done. You said yourself, Tom, we had guys that couldn't cover. So now that's a double whammy because you better be able to do something well so you can fall back on it. We couldn't do anything well. And I would argue again, I'm not trying to pick on the kid, but when your best player perhaps on that defense is Brian Burns, then we're not where we need to be. Nothing against him, and I hope he goes on to have a great career as a specialist, and I think he can as a third-down pass rusher, something like that. He doesn't set the edge against the run, so they could run right at him, which took away from his pass rushing ability against the better teams because he was worn out. That's just a fact. Go back and look at those games. There are exceptions, I understand, but by and large, teams decided we'll run at him. He's not big enough to set the edge. We'll get to the second level, and you're screwed. And we didn't have anybody off the other side. Kando hasn't ended up being what we thought he would be for now, mainly due to injury. We'll see. I think he's starting to come on, but, he's not the dynamic pass rusher we thought he was going to be. You don't really have another one of those. And at linebacker, you were wildly inconsistent. Dontavius Jackson had some nice games. Really nobody else at linebacker was any good at all. Not even a little bit. Not even a little bit.
Even still, it wasn't like Dontavius is perfect.
No, not at all. I'm saying he was the best guy you had, but he wasn't, he wasn't elite.
Well, and to revisit the Clemson game, clearly they thought Kyle Myers quit because he's out of the rotation.
But he was done.
He didn't get hurt.
Yeah, they said have a good one.
They did.
Yeah, so there's that. And then, I think, so again, you're talking about limitations, severe limitations that you inherit there that you can only scheme around so much. Now, he got out-schemed a couple times this year, and I don't often bring that up, but that was abundantly clear against NC State. I'll say that. Some of the other stuff was personnel-related. Like when you watch Notre Dame just blatantly disrespect you, flip it on the offensive side where they just have a 5-man box. Well, I mean, that's good luck. I can't block 5 people. Sweet Jesus. So, that's going to lead to problems.
You'll get to a point, too, though, where development is important. And are kids getting better?
Well, that was my biggest problem towards the end of the Fisher tenure was that, okay, look, I don't like that every offseason I got to hear about you flirting with the neighbor here. I understand, but, that's an agent thing, too, so whatever. But what I didn't like was that starting in 15 through last year, you weren't seeing guys come in and get better, guys really develop. That became a bigger problem, and we began to wonder about certain coaches, certain trainers. All that stuff was kind of on the plate. And so, yes, you're right. That is another major aspect of very successful programs. It's not just that you're able to go in and bring in better players, which I most assuredly think this staff will do. It's filled with recruiters. Willie himself is a fantastic recruiter. But, once they're here, you're tasked with getting them better, getting them bigger, stronger, smarter. All that stuff has to happen. They develop as players. That's something Clemson does a very, very, very good job of going out and getting really good players and developing the hell out of them. You see kids at that university and that program come in being one thing, which is recognizably good, and leave being very, 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 very good. A different aspect of their game is revealed by the time they're juniors and seniors. You see that. You really haven't seen that as much with guys here lately. Now, you have to hope, and this is a big part of the hope for next year, that in addition to going out and finding an influx of talented players to replace some less talented players, like on the now, like starting next year. So say Dante Lucas can come in and play now. In addition to that, you have to hope that the guys that didn't play a major role this year, who were on the roster and were highly touted recruits, and we've gotten a glimpse of, take huge steps forward. A perfect example of that, and I think it's entirely possible and even likely, is Amari Gaynor. Amari Gaynor's a guy at a position of need, a hella position of need, right, that has immense skills, is a hitter, and we would think, certainly, a hard worker as a legacy, all of that, right? That guy could suddenly be a major difference maker for you next year in a position of need, and he's already on the roster. And many people will note that that's something that has to happen for a change in results, is that it's not just a class that you go out and bring in, but it's the class that was before it and before that one that suddenly improves, takes that step, matures, adjusts to life away from home, gets bigger, gets stronger, understands balance, has all of that. And there are some guys on this team that we just didn't see a lot of that will be asked to do that, and it's entirely possible, again, that they will.
Yeah, on offense at receiver, Terry's going to be the one that everybody circles and talks about preseason. You don't need to, worry about who the cover guy in the magazine is going to be. If it's not Willie, I think, Tamorian's going to be somewhere around there.
But Harrison and Helton and those guys.
Warren Thompson.
Yep.
Yeah, you need him to be a part of the picture. Trey McKitty's development's really important. I think that's one that, obviously, he was a big part of the offense in camp because you saw how much he was schemed for in the early portion of the season, but then he kept dropping the football.
Yeah, got a case of the drops, and then we had all the pre-snap stuff.
Well, he ran the wrong direction against Miami, and that cost you a turnover, and that's killer in that moment because if he makes that play, that's a big play and a big moment.
Sure it is.
So, yeah. Pops caught one of the biggest passes this weekend against the Gators, and that was when we were going down the field for a touchdown, miraculously. DeAndre hit him between three defenders, and I was like, wow, 82. And he emerged in the back, 3-4 games of the season? Like, oh,
really did.
Sure.
Did. He's also a much better blocker.
Because Nasir was actually one of the captains of the recruiting class when he came in. He was the guy that would get on the phone or he would text all the other recruits, and you'd say, oh, this is awesome. So this guy's a total knoll. He's trying to get teammates to come along with him. He's going to be a good player, too. And then he just disappeared until the back half of the season. On defense, Amari Gaynor, you would think, obviously, with Dontavius. But Xavier Peters is another player as a rush end that we're looking forward to.
No, there's some talent here. They're not devoid of that. They got to get so much better in the trenches. But, that's what I'm talking about. Those areas where you have guys on the roster that were infrequently used or not used at all, that, in essence, redshirted with the new rule.
Well, and we're molding Samuel. He's a freshman. And then Bolden, obviously, if he gets healthy and right. There you go. So you got a couple options there. But, yes, it's at some point – we talked about the Jimbo versus Willie thing. At some point, it's on you. Like, it's not Jimbo's fault that we still lined up incorrectly, or we had 10 or 11 on the field.
No, but we've said that a million times. We don't have. I'm with you,
but now development.
Yeah, that's a given. We'll watch that now. We'll see how quickly these guys develop. Look, in year one already, he did a great job with a player, Tamorian Terry, that couldn't find the field for Jimbo. So I'm all right. We'll get there. Just gotta be able to block.
Not taking anything away from the guys. I think they did a good job with him, but I think that was a Jimbo-specific problem. It looks like Tamorian, I think he knew how to play. Just a guess.
Yeah, just a guess. Don't know what that was about. No, I got a lot of questions. No sense in kind of waddling down that path again. Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Once I clean my mirror, I'ma be feeling fine.
Hi, this is Peter Bond, owner of Jerry's Cigar Shop. Jerry's has been a local favorite for cigar enthusiasts for the last 25 years. We have the largest walk-in humidors in town, filled to the brim with an amazing cigar selection. Relax in one of our leather chairs and enjoy an ice-cold beer or a glass of wine with your cigar. Jerry's is a great place to watch sports on our big flat-screen TVs and offers a comfortable setting for lively conversation. Visit our original store on Sharer Road or our new second location on Cary Forest Parkway. We hope to see you soon.
Hey sports fans, who's on your Mount Rushmore of baseball? I'm going with Ruth, Cobb, Aaron, and Mantle. Football, I've got Bradshaw, Peyton, Montana, and Brady. In basketball, Jabbar, Jordan, Bird, and LeBron. This debate could go on and on, but when it comes to the Mount Rushmore of personal injury law in Tallahassee, the choice is clear. Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey. Recently voted Tallahassee's best law firm, so avoid the underdog and go with the favorite, Fonville, Lewis, Messer, McConaughey.
Get your weekend started right here on 97.9 ESPN Radio, Saturdays at 6 a.m. with Fishing Florida Radio. Listen to the three amigos, Boudreaux, Steve Chapman, and Captain Mike Ortega, as they catch you up to speed on what's new and biting in the North Florida region. Big-time guests, celebrities, interviews, and 3 hours of the fishing info you need. Fishing Florida Radio is brought to you by Sea Quarters Marina off Highway 98 in Carabel. Sea Quarters Marina, your full-service marina, and presented by Hobbit American Grill and Mike's Marine Supply.
Hi, Chris Kraft for Kraft Nissan, and the 2019s are arriving every day, including the all-new 2019 Altima. Pick 6 Savings has almost cleared out the 2018 Altimas, but we still have a good selection of 2018 Rogues, Pathfinders, and Muranos that are all $6,000 off. All 2018 Sentras are $4,000 off, and we have over 40 to choose from. 2018 Versa S 5-speeds are $11,995, and 2018 Versa S Plus Automatics are $13,995. And we've extended the $10,000 off all 2018 Titan and Titan XD, regular cabs, extended cabs, crew cabs, gas or Cummins diesel. All 2018 Titans are $10,000 off, and we will give you $2,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade. That's $10,000 off all Titans and $2,000 over Kelly Blue Book for your trade, or a total of $12,000 in discounts on every Titan we sell. But you better hurry. The 2018s are going fast. Kraft Nissan on Mahan Drive between Academy Sports and Costco. Prices include dealer preparation charge.
Selling your home? Looking to buy? Go to Manasa.com now. Joe Manasa Real Estate.
Well, hello, Eddie. It is always good to see you, sir.
Hey, look at you over here, Jeff.
Bumpus is a good place, and we got the news out there that you were opening Bumpus, but what they don't know, you got something different every day of the week, and now that the games are being played, there's a special for everything.
Oh, my goodness, Jeff. The specials we got during game times. We got 75-cent wings, $3 domestics, $5 craft drafts.
That's well done. $7 premiums, $3 wells. What do you got for, say, a Monday Night Football game?
Monday all day long, Jeff. We do a full rack of rib special. Half rack, $8.95. Full rack, $12.95.
With a side.
With a side.
I saw it was written there. I had to say it. By the way, do you have something for a Tuesday?
Dude, Tuesday, Taco Tuesdays. Any tacos, $10 with a drink and a side.
It's a good deal. Anything
Wednesdays.
for Wednesdays?
Oh, my goodness. Wednesdays. What a Wednesday special. We got a burger and a beer for $12. And if you so choose, add a bourbon for $3.
Okay, so Bumpus has a lot of things going on for the games. Most importantly, those TVs, delicious food, and a special every day of the week. Bumpus!
Local 349.
It's the holiday sales event at Ford. It's a big deal, and we're busy making preparations to get you the best deals of the year. Because unlike Santa's presents, ours don't just magically appear. At Ford, ours are built in real factories, where pickup trucks come with best-in-class towing and payload, where SUVs are built with available features like terrain management and driver assist technologies, and where every bolt, stitch, and line of code is tested and tested again. But you don't have to write Santa a letter to get these presents. Naughty or nice, just come see your Ford dealer during our holiday sales event for our best offers of the year. Ford, built for the holidays. Built Ford proud.
Best-in-class towing and payload when properly configured. Class is light-duty pickups under 8,500 pounds GVWR based on Ford segmentation.
Don't just listen to The Jeff Cameron Show. Watch it live. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Live weekdays 3 to 6 p.m. Head to ESPNTallahassee.com today to watch live or catch up on demand. The Jeff Cameron Show Streamcast. Brought to you by Nice Tire and Auto, your trusted Goodyear dealer.
Nice Tire and Auto, just minutes away from FSU campus.
This is The Jeff Cameron Show on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Another reminder that, hey, it's a good time to get ready to make your way on over to Madison Social. Madison Social offering the social agreement on Thursday, so that's tomorrow. And you and a buddy can split one order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof ales, all for just $40. Boom. Township will have Taco Thursday, $2 house tacos. That doesn't suck. Centrale offers 50% off all select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Yay! It's fit for all ages. Parking is solved because it's free. No hassle, great food and service. Visit thursdaysincollegetown.com for more details. All right, good stuff there. Blake Bortles says he's unsure of his future with the Jags and that, quote, a lack of execution led to his benching. Indeed. Leading the league in pick sixes, interceptions, total turnovers, any statistical category that matters at quarterback is a lack of execution indeed. That'll hurt your feelings a little bit. It'll even hurt your feelings more when you're a Jags fan and realizing that you were this close to going to the Super Bowl and that they invested in that clown.
Bend over.
He's now been benched despite getting all the money. That's a good way to break up a locker room. Not that he's been benched. That's a way for a locker room to celebrate that they might have an outside shot. But here's the deal. It would cost the Jags $16.5 million in dead money to cut his sorry ass. So they can't do that. It's a toughie. So you're
bend over.
You're locked into a bum who made it readily apparent that he was a bum before you gave him all the money. That's a toughie. That's a interesting decision, Tom Coughlin.
I am stunned. I have not seen a news story about Jalen Ramsey liking a tweet that they're going with a different quarterback on the Jags official Twitter page.
I'm kind of surprised, too. The only thing I'd say about that is that it's not like that defense is kicking ass and taking names. Now, they may have all quit and soured on the organization after, they gave Blake Bortles all the money. But they're not playing well. So it's kind of hard to throw your fellow competitors and teammates under the bus the way he so frequently does when you yourself aren't playing all that well. It's a kind of a tough deal there.
Well, especially when you lose to Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. Trash Josh Allen as he is.
Yeah. Or as you called him. Yeah. Now, listen, I don't think he's going to be great either.
No.
But
he ran for 100 yards. That's how they did that.
He also hit a bomb for a big touchdown. So, come on, my man. You got to make a play. He did run for 100 yards. He's a much better athlete than I realized. Is not, and you like that, he's not an accurate passer of the football. That's kind of important at the position. Here's something that makes me smile because, I'm kind of into this sort of thing. By the way, our streak, Big Daddy Jay's streak ended at 4-1. We talked about that yesterday. I had the 5 overs with Ottawa. And I think, by the way, as an aside, I just keep on keeping on with the overs with Ottawa. They're 18-5-1 on the over. So
until 2 or 3 in a row go the other way, that kind of thing.
Well, Vegas is on to us. They started setting. We covered a 6.5 number with a 10-goal night during that stretch. We covered a 6 number twice. Vegas started figuring out. When we first started taking advantage of Vegas, they were putting it at 5.5 and 6 on the regular. Now, every time you look at Ottawa, it's 6.5. So they've kind of figured out Ottawa can't stop anybody from scoring. And so, we may have to move it on Big River. That's what Vegas does. You get
the next 5 unders for Ottawa.
Well, if it's at 7, for sure, I'm going to keep doing that. But, you continue to find the other over-under runs that you can go on for streaks. And recently they had the ROIs for NBA teams early on in the season, too. And it's interesting. Dallas is forever, winning on the under. I've noted that.
Playing good defense, the Mavs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the NBA's weird right now. You can't figure out what the seeding's going to be right now, and Golden State sucks.
No.
And it's great.
So I looked at the standings. It's funny you say this. I looked at the standings today. I'm not sure why. I was just probably tooling around ESPN because it's, you can feel the death of the football season coming, college football. So you're like, all right, what's going on elsewhere? And if you look at the NBA standings, Boston is 6th in its division.
Yeah, they're struggling right now.
That's crazy. Or 6th in the conference, excuse me. Your top 5 in the Eastern Conference are Toronto, which they do that in the regular season.
Well, Toronto's good, though.
Milwaukee, because they got Kawhi.
Yeah.
Milwaukee, the 76ers, not total shock there, but Indiana and Detroit? What?
You want to have
Indiana and Detroit.
You want to have some fun with Milwaukee. Just go watch them play. Just go watch that team play. It's they made a transition in their offense, and they're just bombs away. They're a lot of fun.
The teams out of the playoff race, talk about media markets, and of course a couple of these might make it back in. But the teams out of the playoff race in the East, Washington, Brooklyn, Miami, New York, Chicago, Atlanta. Yikes. That's not good.
Yeah, none of them are making their way back in.
Washington might.
Maybe. They're talking about trading away their best players, but maybe.
They've responded with 2 straight wins.
Well, it's just fun to be looking at the West and the East right now and go, I don't know. What gives? What's going on here? I mean, what the hell happened to Utah, for example? I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on where you go, I don't know what these teams are.
Yeah, the best winning percentage in the West. Winning percentage, not overall record. The Clippers.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the funny story. I was talking about that with a friend of mine. I was saying that, hey, have you paid attention at all to the NBA? Because if you haven't, by the way, I may surprise you when I tell you the Clippers are good. Well, kind of, because maybe everybody else isn't. By the way, try to figure out who the Pelicans are. Go look at their streaks. Go look at what they've done. They were like awesome, terrible, just stretches where it's just. When you look at the wins in a row and all that, it's really, really odd.
Okay, so they've lost 4 in a row, and that's after winning 6 of 7. Yeah. And before that, they lost
a bunch in a row.
6 in a row.
Right.
And before that, they won 4 in a row.
That's what I'm saying. Go figure that out. Every time I think I have a handle on them, I'm like, I don't know what the hell the Pelicans are. And see, Tom, why do I know so much about these streaks of the Pelicans? Perhaps I gamble. And that's where it informs you about the league in a way that's actually productive for a talk show, because that matters in just understanding what a team is or isn't. And that's true in general. People ask, how do you get into gambling? Part of it is being a sports talk show host, because those numbers reveal something of being able to make money off them. The Pelicans are wildly inconsistent. That is revealed by their not just win totals.
Yes.
But listen.
That's the intellectual value of it, yes. But the primary value for my man across from the glass
Anybody betting is wanting to make money. I'm not lying about that. I'm not trying to disguise that. What I'm saying is, though, you learn a lot. For example, it's no coincidence the teams that are terrible against the number in the NFL also have sorry-ass records. The Raiders can't cover a number. The Raiders are terrible. It's not a surprise that when you get 12 and you lose by 17.
Yeah.
You get 14.5 and you lose by 16. You get 9, you lose by 10. That's the Raiders. They never cover. Well, they also don't win games. So there you go. That's the whole deal. And Vegas can't set that number high enough right now. And by the way, they got weirdly backdoored last week by Baltimore.
Hey now.
That's a weird game. There was a punt return, which nobody scores on special teams anymore, ever, anywhere. But the Raiders gave it up on the sideline. Nobody bothered to tackle anybody. And then you've got a 57-year-old man recovering a fumble trying to pitch it, Terrell Suggs, and then running all the way into the end zone.
How did he get the edge? Jesus.
Well, it's just the whole thing. He's running around in
circles.
That
took forever.
Because he's old and huge, and he was trying to pitch
confused.
it. But he scored because it's the Raiders. So there you go. Yeah. You know who's one of the best teams against the number?
This is the NFL, right?
Okay, so you're going to say a really good team because it is often indicative of that, but it's something that you should be smiling about.
The Chiefs.
The Chiefs are good against the
like
number.
The Chiefs.
Yeah, no, the Chiefs. They do, but no, Cleveland. Cleveland's gotten very good against the number.
Oh, okay.
Each of the last 3 years, they haven't. So while I'm on the subject, here's where I wanted to segue. And we knew this was going to happen. We predicted this was going to happen. And again, there's value in knowing these numbers, even if you're not a gambler. And this is something that's now becoming prominent in so many areas, and it is very helpful. It's just information. The gathering of information is a good thing. But since it became legalized in many areas and our attitudes towards it in this country have completely shifted to match those of, say, Europe, certainly England, the pull of, as the article writes here in the AP today, the pull of rapidly expanding gambling industry has claimed another high-profile media member. Now, that high-profile, quote-unquote, media member is an annoyance, but it's Darren Rovell from ESPN. He's leaving. The Washington Post first reported this. ESPN. He's walking away from that job, which to me was a cush job. Great job, right?
He had to write like two sentences a month.
Yeah, just point out PR stuff. But he told the Post that he was moving on because he believes that that people aspire to go to organizations in which there are specialists. You feel good watching, say, a business network, CNBC or something like that, because all they do is business. So you tune into something like that. Well, he's going to a place now called All Action. I thought that is awesome. First of all, you can have fun with that title. But that's where they're going. It's the
Bend over.
It's the Action Network. and it's run by a former ESPN employee, ESPN.com website chief Chad Millman, who oversaw the establishment of gambling sections on ESPN's website, which they've blossomed a lot in the last 2 or 3 years. And that acceptance has carried over to College Game Day. It's carried over to their NFL preview shows. Have you noticed? I mean, we are not too far removed from having a conversation. I love to revisit conversations we had on this show. Bring it back local. You and I were talking long before. They were just kind of kicking about the idea of legalizing sports books across the country. Now, I think it's currently legal in 7 states, soon to be 9 to 13. And now you have a place like Pennsylvania that will end up having a greater handle than Vegas has, which is hard to imagine, but they will by a lot. And that's because of the legalization of sports books. Now all these websites, all these places where that is their singular focus are, popping up left and right, and people are leaving. But ESPN themselves, we said, you watch, they're going to take over that. They're going to understand that there's a monetary value to this, and you must do it to survive. And now those shows, it is so mainstream. They're sitting there talking about the game and a matchup, and somebody mentions the number almost every time.
If I was ESPN, that's what I would do with ESPN News at night after their radio shows are over. It's essentially ESPN radio television right now, but if it's your business network for live odds on what's going on, you could morph it into anything you want. It could be the odds, it could be daily fantasy, but if you just did programming on that stuff all day where people are trying to make money, I think you'd have something there. It would be like your CNBC. But yes, it's funny because when I first started here in 2012 and I was reading over the affiliation agreement with ESPN, it said in no uncertain terms
you can't do it, right?
You can't talk gambling.
Yeah.
And yet Colin Cowherd every day at the time would talk gambling, especially on Fridays when he would make his picks for the weekend. I thought, well, that's pretty hypocritical. Let's move forward with the Lee Sterling segment because I didn't read that sentence. And, it was just this, I guess it was a dated clause, but now they can't embrace it enough because a lot of people come to their website and come to their radio stations and whatever because they want to know the inside dope.
Well, and I think, again, when you look at, like my mom always said, she's always curious, like, well, what does this mean and why? How much are you gambling? She's being a mom. I go, Mom, it's important for you to know what those numbers are. When we're making these picks, you should know. I mean, it can help inform. It's not the final decision, but it helps inform what you're looking at, what you're deciding. If Vegas thinks somebody's a 12-point favorite, there's a very good reason for that. If you're just picking a winner, I'm not even talking about the number.
Right.
Saying, but if you see
which makes her victory a couple of years ago more astounding is that she's not looking at the number.
She's not. No. Now, again, it's if you're talking about two different forms of picking, then, if you're just at a mere 58% in the NFL, you're making money and you're doing very, very well against the number. But if it's just a pick 'em league and you're trying to pick winners, you got to do better than that. But if you're stuck on a game, and say you don't watch a lot of San Diego Charger football, and I use them as an example because they're really good. They play great defense. They've got a superstar running back and a veteran quarterback who's having that resurgence that we talk about that Hall of Fame players have, right? But you don't watch them if you're in Florida. They're not on TV. You don't see them. So if you were to look at a game between them and, say, them and the Broncos or something, you might be stuck with an idea of what those teams were 2 and 3 years ago, or it could be a leftover from a perception you have of that outfit, whether it's their defense or their offense. Just go look at what Vegas says. If that game is 13 or if it's 5 or if it's 1, it informs your decision.
Well, and this is where if I'm doing the picking winners in the pools, right? Like the college bowl pools.
Yeah, just any of that stuff, right?
It's just straight winners, though. The confidence picks, where you
but
pick the 40 games.
But you'll look at that number because you don't watch Marshall.
No, the first thing I do, I don't look at the number. I look at the money line. I want to see the money line, and then I order the games from there, and then I do reading up on if coaches have left or if they're leaving or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And then I allow for, if I've seen teams, that I'm handicapping it myself at some point if there's no major changes.
Yeah, I've
injuries.
watched them play. They can't stop the run. I'm going to differ from that line. Yeah.
Like, here's a group of 7 minus 160s. Well, I've seen 3 of them. So let's look at this game, and I'll use the eye test for here. But when I'm trying to do those ones that are like Capital One Bowl Week, if I see a minus 450, I'm like, well, there's my guy.
There's your winner.
That's a 33 confidence pick right there.
Exactly. So it's just, again, it's about information gathering. And that's why when I bring it up, people will go, well, why are you so... No, it's more than just, hey, I'm talking to my local bookie or your buddy on the side or offshore. It's that you're informing yourself of what a team is or isn't, and Vegas is helping. They're telling you.
They're in the business of getting it right.
Yeah. It's Jeff Cameron Show, 97.9 ESPN Radio.
ESPN Radio Sports Center.
I'm Kevin Winter. Breaking news into the Sports Center newsroom. Georgia Tech head football coach Paul Johnson is set to call it a career. He's expected to retire after 11 years on the job in Atlanta. This according to ESPN's Adam Rittenberg and multiple reports. Johnson is 61 years old. Ever since joining Georgia Tech, he went 82 and 59. This was following a 6-year stint at Navy. Overall, he's 189 and 98 as a college football coach. And by the way, 11 years with the Yellow Jackets. He's led Georgia Tech to 9 bowl appearances, including this season, and 2 Orange Bowl berths and 3 top 25 finishes. Second-ranked Clemson gets Pittsburgh Saturday night in the ACC Championship game. It's available right here on ESPN Radio, the ESPN app, and ABC Television. Today, the conference announced running back Travis Etienne named the Player of the Year and the Offensive Player of the Year in the conference. While Clemson defensive end Cleveland Farrell is named the Defensive Player of the Year. Coming up on Sunday, the College Football Playoff Selection Committee will make their final unveil for who's in, and one question is Ohio State against Oklahoma. ESPN's Peter Burns was once on a mock selection committee.
When we went through this process, if 2 teams were very close, I vividly remember everybody in our room, in our committee that did it that day, said, what's the reason why the tiebreaker? Give me the tiebreaker to our group at least was, give me a reason why we should exclude you. And there's no reason why that the exclusion for Ohio State is getting absolute whooped by a 6-6 Purdue team by 29 points. Much like it was the 31-point drubbing to Iowa last year. That is the one thing that I say, if push comes to shove, I just can't vote for you.
Full rankings revealed Sunday afternoon, noon Eastern, ESPN Television, and exclusively on ESPN Radio.
This is Chris Kraft with news that is sure to change the car buying landscape in North Florida. My brother Peter and I are now the proud new owners of the Infiniti dealership in Tallahassee, the all-new Kraft Infiniti. As Mercedes-Benz dealers for over 25 years early in our careers, we know how to sell and service Highline vehicles the right way. At Kraft Infiniti, our mission statement is simple: to provide our customers with a car buying experience that is unsurpassed in value, consideration for your time, and pure enjoyment. Finally, the Highline experience you deserve, and it's from the Kraft brothers. Infiniti is much more than a brand name. It's a lifestyle and it's a statement. And at Kraft Infiniti, Peter and I will go beyond your expectations in providing the best sales and service experience in Tallahassee. So come see us at the all-new Kraft Infiniti, beyond your expectations, and brought to you by the Kraft brothers. Kraft Infiniti, 3355 Capitol Circle Northeast, conveniently located between Home Depot and the I-10 flyover. Call 297-1488 or visit us on the web at craftinfinity.com.
Tap into your inner eagle and spread your wings with Yingling Traditional Lager, a bold amber color, near 200 years in the making, all-American brew. So plug in, rock out, and let the night take flight. Yingling Traditional Lager. Spread your wings. Spread my wings and let it ride. DJ Yingling & Son, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. Please drink responsibly.
Tasty Pastry Bakery congratulates the women's soccer team on making it to the Final Four this weekend. Tasty Pastry, celebrating over 50 years in Tally.
We're completing our descent and will arrive in TLH shortly.
Oh, I'm so happy to be home.
Once we land, you can take off again with savings from the City of Tallahassee.
What do you mean?
The City of Tallahassee offers rebates for up to $300 in savings when you purchase energy-efficient appliances.
Wow, that would be a huge help.
The city also offers free energy audits.
What's an energy audit?
It's when an energy auditor comes to your home at the time that's convenient for you, examines your structure, and checks your energy and water systems. Then, they recommend changes that could save you energy, water, water, and money. The city also offers free ceiling insulation grants for qualifying customers.
Man, the city sure offers a lot of ways to save money. Once we land, I would check out all of the products and services the city has to offer. This makes me proud to call Tallahassee home.
Thank you for flying with us today. Don't forget that you can take off with savings with the City of Tallahassee. From rebates for Energy Star appliances to insulation grants. You can save energy, water, and money. Visit talgov.com for more information.
With football season in full swing, don't forget about fishing our local waterways after the games. Fish are still biting regardless of the score. Sea Quarters Marina, Carabel, Florida. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The marina has a ship store, which includes fuel, bait, tackle, ice, and all of your fishing supplies for the trip. Both diesel and non-ethanol fuel is available. Free Wi-Fi and pump out with boat slip rental. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Carabel, Florida, 697-8400. Visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Broadcasting live from the AmeriGas Propane Studios in the capital city of Tallahassee. This is the Jeff Cameron Show, brought to you by Cornerstone Tool and Fastener on 97.9 ESPN Radio.
Will Putnam said he had a nice visit. Should I sprinkle in little positive notes like that on occasion? Like the little 10-second one-offs?
Only the good ones.
Yeah, it would really be cruel and unusual if I sprinkled in the bad notes. Hey, that guy we really wanted told us to go to hell. Anyhow. No. Will said he had a great visit. And offensive line coaches are interesting people. And one of the underrated, talking points that we never got to this year would be what kind of stress level and patience test was there for Greg Fry? Like, offensive linemen are rugged, strong dudes. They're smart most of the time. And they have to be, and they just think about the game a little differently. But they don't suffer guys that are soft, for lack of a better term, right? Imagine Greg Fry every day at practice looking at that soft-ass group thinking, well.
When you say that, you mean mostly mentally, right? It's mental for most of the guys.
Oh, I'm not saying that those guys walking amongst us on Earth are of the weaker variety. They're all big, strong, huge men, so that in any given place in which they stand, they're bigger and stronger than most everybody else around them and can probably do major damage. As compared to the other competitors they faced week to week.
So you're saying physical and mental.
Oh, I thought we were physically weak. I thought we were mentally weak for sure. I feel bad. Some guys just weren't good enough, and that's something. That's a delicate situation you find yourself in there, because if somebody's not good enough, you can yell at them, you can try to make them mentally tougher, you can teach them.
They may not be soft in that way,
right?
Yeah,
you can teach somebody how to do something, but they can't do it. Listen, you could tell me, here's the technique you would need to use to run a 4.340. I can't run a 4.340. We'll be here all year. It's not happening. So at some point, we got to move on. You got to get a player who can run a 4.3, not on the offensive line, but you know what I mean. And
somebody who can pull.
Yeah.
Can use that.
So I just can only imagine the frustration. I get it. There's a time to criticize coaches. I've done that. There's a time to tell everybody to slow their roll and understand, have a greater perspective of the situation. We've done that. There's stuff in between. But then there is a time to really kind of just take a step back and pity, to some extent, both the kids who are going through the losing and the coaches who, in some cases, really don't have options. I mean, what I mean is, if your best option is starting a fifth-year defensive tackle at guard,
Yeah.
So again, I would ask you this. at that point, what's so discouraging is there is another guard/center on the roster who was a 5-star. He couldn't start over Arthur Williams?
Right. Yeah. And it's not like they were trying to spare a shirt there for him or anything like that.
No.
Yeah.
So, I mean, woo. Sometimes you swing and miss, man.
Yeah, not a guard. Right. It's like I get he has snapping issues, but I think Brady Scott is somebody they want to be, that projects to be a center moving.
Yes. Well,
forward.
we had centers and guards playing tackle. We had defensive tackles playing guard. I mean, we had a lot of problems.
What I'm saying is you wouldn't not play him because you're afraid if Eberle goes down and he goes down, then you don't have a center.
No,
you don't have anything.
No.
You don't have anything. No. And that's the thing, the healthier place to be regarding Florida State football is probably neutral observer who goes, well, they don't have an offensive line and they don't have a quarterback who wants and knows how to run their system. So I don't know what you're supposed to do.
Well, and so I took turns doing this thing, right? I took turns being Uncle Jeff, come on in for the hug. Let's go, everybody. Let's go. Come on, have a seat. Let me just say this again. Can't block, you can't win. So, reminder, we lost another game. Guess what? We're going to lose another one because can't block, can't win. Keep saying it all together now. It ain't changing next week. So I did that, and then I said, but there are areas you can improve. There are areas in which there better be more discipline. There are areas in which I ought to see growth. There ought to, both can be true. And that's really what this year was. Ultimately, though, even with the criticism, it is fair to say that if they lined up properly and they had far fewer penalties per game, they would have lost a lot of games. May not have been bowl eligible anyhow. They might have won the Miami game.
That one would have helped. But
so therefore, you'd be 6-6, whatever. You'd still be pissed, and again,
you just need a call. You put yourself in a position to win that game.
Well, you made the right call. You executed it the right way, and the refs screwed you. But listen. You did enough to harm yourself also throughout the year in the other games. So, again.
In that game.
That game, turning it over left and right inside your own 30.
Damn it.
Believe me, I'm still remembering the reverberations of cheers and thrown items there in Miami as I sat and watched it all play out before me.
If you had to give it a percentage of what, let's just say offensively speaking, and you could issue percentages to offensive line, quarterback, coaching, how would you distribute those percentages in terms of what we saw?
70% on the offensive line.
Yeah,
I got to start there. You can't, you can't block. So it's really, and then I think because you can't block, it leads to some of the other problems in those other arenas. So I think it affects your coaching. A lot of things are off the table at that point. You're spending an awful lot of time, an unreasonable amount of time, addressing the issue of not being able to block and then putting together a game plan based on the fact that you can't block. You see what I'm saying is you're hamstrung in so many ways.
Well, and then you're hamstrung because your QB can't do the basic things you need for your offense. Your offense. Now, we were trying to scheme other things, and that's great, and I wanted to see that, and I'm glad we did. Because it means that we're willing to adapt.
Malleable, yeah.
When times are better. That means when times are better, too,
that'll matter.
Our game plan will be diverse.
Well, somebody pointed out something I said a while back about DeAndre Francois being a real good passer of the football. Well, I still do think he's a good passer of the football. He's not terrible. He's not as accurate as I'd like him to be if we're talking about next level. But in terms of throwing a ball, I mean, think of the throw that he made against Tamorrion Terry against Boston College. There are throws littered throughout the year in which he showcased a skill that he has in throwing the football. But that's one element of being a quarterback. Reading a defense, checking to right protections, understanding your scheme and counting.
Pocket presence.
Oh, no, there are a lot of things that I'm critical of, and that other thing can still be true. So, I mean, man, it's just, you got to get a guy in here who can run your system and that somebody will follow. Somebody that will. That's the other problem. I can't put a percentage on that because I don't know how much of that locker room was like, no, this is. I mean, maybe they don't even know. It was subconscious.
They may have all been numb like us. Just they arrive on the field, they're like, oh, we're kicking off. Okay.
Well, by all means, let's return it and block in the back, everybody, so we can start on the 7. Real quick, that would be their kicking off. Sorry, not we're kicking off. This next hour, it's a good one. All of them are, but this one's all basketball. Let's get to Florida State Purdue tonight. It's Tallahassee Game Day Court Report. Taking over the final hour of the Jeff Cameron Show next. Headed to the new Gordos, 'cause Eddie hit a home run just like the old Gordos. Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo.
Jeff, I'm sitting right here, man. Why do you always speak about me in the third person?
Loving the new Gordos.
You gotta quit singing, man.
Got the outside deck. When the weather shifts, I'm going to sit outside at the new Gordos.
Are we ever gonna get there? Can you speed up, please?
Lots of TVs.
1460 Market Street.
Woo-hoo.
O'Reilly. Defend your vehicle from harmful elements and restore shine with Armor All canister wipes. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up Armor All canister wipes for $3.99. Easily remove dirt, dust, and grime with Armor All canister wipes on sale for $3.99 at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices every day. Limits apply. See store for details.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
Thursdays are Friday Eve, and that's a reason to celebrate. No matter what you're looking for, they've got you covered every Thursday down in College Town. Centrale offers 50% off select pizzas all day, every Thursday. Or you can stop by Township for Taco Thursday. $2 house tacos, $2. Madison Social offers the Social Agreement. You and a buddy can split one order of wings, 2 Madso burgers, 2 bourbons, 2 proof Madison Socials, all for just $40. See what they did there? And don't worry about parking. Plenty of spaces available in the parking deck or surrounding lots. Check out all the Thursday College Town deals right now on ThursdaysInCollegetown.com.
This is Chris Kraft with news that is sure to change the car buying landscape in North Florida. My brother Peter and I are now the proud new owners of the Infiniti dealership in Tallahassee, the all-new Kraft Infiniti. As Mercedes-Benz dealers for over 25 years early in our career,
I am here, just as I was a moment ago when it was the Jeff Cameron Show, as we turn our 5 o'clock hour into a basketball preview. We're wanting to do that on occasion this year. We thank our sponsors. We thank you for embracing basketball the same way we are, as Florida State, your Noles, taking on Purdue tonight, 9 o'clock. It'll be a little bit more seamless, Tom, when we do this transition in the 5 o'clock hour, where the 5 to 6 hour of the Jeff Cameron Show is taken over. When the games are at 7, as opposed to 9:30 or something along those lines. Like, here's a 4-hour ahead of time preview.
Well, we're not waiting around till 8 o'clock to preview this puppy. I can
No,
tell
we're
you
not
that
waiting.
much.
We're not. No. There are things to be done, food to be eaten, families to be seen. Yeah, things you got to do. But that said, I'm excited because it's the second time we've done one of these, and first time we did it before the Florida game, and my God, we just kicked the living hell out of them. So that was a thing to appreciate for number one.
Vegas thought about the same thing too. They said Florida State was somewhere between a 3 and a 4 point favorite at that point, and I thought it was 3.5. I think that's what I saw around 2 o'clock today.
FSU 5-1, ranked 15th and 14th respectively, but their opponent tonight, Purdue, is also ranked 5-1 as well, 19 and 18 depending on where you look, and that game scheduled for 9:15 tonight at the TLC-CC as part of the 20th annual ACC Big Ten Challenge, televised. If you're not going to be making your way over to the great TLC-CC, you can watch the game on ESPN2, Comcast channels 30 if you're still not down with the HD, which, I mean, come on, kids. My God. Or 404, which is what most of you will be looking at. It is the 20th appearance in the ACC Big Ten Challenge for Florida State. That began in 1999. And 99 was a fine year, sir. A fine year for Florida State athletics, indeed. The Noles are 8-11. In the ACC Big Ten Challenge. Do you remember the time in which we had a 3-game cushion in our respective record for the ACC Big Ten Challenge? We were 6-3. Then we went on a lengthy losing streak, including that game. I don't know why. You know, some games stick in your craw a little bit, but that Northwestern game, buddy, still bothers me to this day.
I can tell you exactly where I was. They don't sponsor this program, but it was a landmark. It was the old BW3s that was on the corner of Ocala and Tennessee.
Yes, it was.
And that game, I think, took a day or two off of my life. I think it took a day or two.
The style
it was in a high school
played.
gym.
Yeah, it was ridiculous.
I mean, it was like playing the guys in the video game that all have 47 speed, and they go in God mode. They keep passing so you can't get the ball. It was the four corners offense, I think.
Brutal to watch, brutal to take in, and brutal to lose way back when. Then we lost 2 straight to Thad Matta's Ohio State. We lost to Michigan State. There was no shame there. Lost 2 straight to Minnesota. At the back end of one of these, I'm going to be very angry about it. It was the overtime loss that somehow we gave away to Iowa. And, man, that was a frustrating loss, too. You remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that
Watched
one hurt.
that one at the CP, yeah.
But we did break through against Minnesota in 2016 here at the TLC-CC, part of that 18-0 home record to start the season, then followed that up last year with a 78-73 road win against Rutgers, which Rutgers, I remember thinking, was very athletic, very long. I thought, okay, that's a good test for us. Rutgers did not go on to have the kind of season they thought they were going to have, but at the time, it felt pretty good.
I think Junior and Meadow had something to do with that, too. The Sopranos were influencing the officials. That was some serious Jersey officiating, if you know what I mean.
It was, but we won by 5, and C.J. Walker had 24 points. Phil Kofer had 19. Hard to remember a game in which C.J. Walker had 24, but he did, and good for him. I got no ill will towards C.J. Walker. Was ready to move on from C.J., but he certainly provided a spark at time. In the 19 previous matchups against the Big Ten in this series, FSU is 5-4 at home, if you're wondering about that. So Leonard Hamilton has been good at home, as you well know. And so I'll say this, FSU, if you're going to look at the all-time record against Big Ten opponents in the 19-game history of the annual series, we're 3-3 against Minnesota, 2-2 against Northwestern, 0-2 against Ohio State, 1-1 against Iowa, 1-0 against Purdue, 0-1 against Wisconsin, 0-1 against Michigan State, and 0-1 against Nebraska, and 1-0 against Rutgers. There you go. I've laid them out there for you. All the records that we've had.
So we're defending a perfect record against Purdue tonight.
You know
at
what?
9:15.
Any of this Purdue, you can't climb that mountain. You've never been able to get over that one time you faced us. Yeah, that was in 2005, by the way, Tom. The Purdue game.
Oh, really?
2000.
My God, you are prepared.
2005 was when that was. So there it is. FSU has yet to be matched up against Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, or Penn State over the 20 years in this series. That is the ACC Big Ten. Of course, we did play Michigan just last year in the NCAA tournament. And you know what? It's interesting, too. I think it was last year, might have been midway through the season 2 years ago, where we talked about a shift in attitudes towards Florida State basketball, and one that I like to see. The number of people complaining about losses or frustrating elements of a team or times that we let one get away, which happens to every team in college basketball over the length of a long season. You know, a lot of times you're playing guys on the back end of 4 games in 7 days, 9 days, and you may be catching somebody else who's fresh. You're going to drop a game. It happens. But in the past, it would happen very quietly. Not a lot of people had much to say about it. Oh, Florida State lost? And they went on about their day, had their cup of coffee, and didn't think much of it. But when we turned the corner and you began to see this roster improve in the way of skill, depth, talent, all of that, then expectations were associated with the program. And that's where I wanted it to get to. It's one of the reasons I celebrate this hour of the show and our ability to even have sponsors who want to be on board for something like this, because it shows, again, that there has been a shift in attitudes towards Florida State basketball. There was an investment from the university. Obviously, the success on the floor has followed. That's a big deal. I mean, if you're going to put what little money we put into the program, if you're going to do that, you need to see some success because of it. That will hopefully influence future dollars and future support. And our students have been good about this, snatching up their allotment of tickets left and right. They've done a good job coming out to the games. But Leonard Hamilton and his staff have done a great job of putting together a product that we can all want to see. I can tell you this. We have the beautiful vista of the ESPN box for the game tonight, but those boxes are now filled. I mean, across the arena there, they were able to sell out the boxes in a way they haven't previously. So there are real expectations, and when we lost to Villanova, I'm not going to sit here and tell you I was disappointed. I felt like we looked like a tired team, and Villanova was able to play the game the kind of pace they wanted to play. As a result of Florida State, I think, being a little bit worn down. But it mattered to me that we lost the game and that we didn't bring home that title, and that, okay, all right, so, okay, I got you. We're good. We're solid, but I really wanted that thing because I thought it was possible. And that tells you how far the program's come as well.
Well, I think we did a good job of really fighting against Villanova running away with it a few times.
Yeah.
10-2, obviously, in the beginning of that game, but there were a couple of stretches where it was, 34-29, or they had a 2 or 3 basket lead, and you thought, okay, well, if we're not going to make our shots from the outside, then how are we going to build back a lead? But then we'd fight back. We'd fight and claw. It was something you said last Friday when we were watching LSU and Florida State, and it was your mantra, which was heart of a lion.
Yeah.
This team has a heart of a lion.
They do.
They do. They continue to fight. The offense needs to come around a little bit, though, because this is a multi-game trend. Yes, Florida State is playing against much better competition, and these are all grinding-style games. The film is out on Florida State. If you let us run, you're going to lose. You can be a top 20 team. You are really putting your chances in peril of winning a game if you want to get out and run with us. But even still, that doesn't mean we're not allowed to impose our will once in a while. And when you see a guy like Trent Forrest, I thought, for all the crazy things he says, Dick Vitale was kind of on the money down the stretch for once in this game on Sunday when he said, where was that? You want to get to the basket. They know you're going to the basket. They still can't stop you. So hopefully Trent Forrest does that a little bit more today. And then, frankly, you need some contributions from P.J. Savoy, who has hardly been visible the last 4 or 5 games. He's only hit, I think it's 3 of his last 12 3-pointers over 4 games.
Yeah, streaky.
You need a little bit more out of him because he was such a key cog in the wheel when Florida State made its Elite 8 run. You could count on him, especially early in games, to set the tone. And you could see what it would do. It would change fundamentally the way teams would guard us because they had to honor PJ. So a lot of things for Florida State to clean up on the offensive end, but there is no doubt the way we attack the glass is really good. I think the commitment to defense, even though Villanova shot 50% from the field, we took away what Nova wanted to do primarily, which was hit three-pointers, shoot from the perimeter. And then against LSU, too, you saw heart, will to win, will to play to the final whistle, will to play for each other. It's all there. You just need to tighten up some things.
It's funny, I was watching, and there's a reason I'm bringing this up. I was watching Virginia Tech last night. I find myself watching a lot of college basketball now. Obviously, football made it a little bit easier to transition to Florida State basketball. I watched Virginia Tech fall last night and play incredibly stupid. And I was mesmerized by the last 45 seconds of that game, where I thought, what are you doing? Just really ridiculously poor decisions made by really talented players. I say that to say this: Virginia Tech is the one who registered Purdue's only loss. Purdue lost to Virginia Tech, who's number 16 in the country.
That was a great game.
89-83 it was. And so, you will see an opponent now tonight that has taken on an ACC team in the form of Virginia Tech, who's a really good basketball team, who really poor ending to the game last night in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. But I'm kind of curious to see the scoring in this game, Tom. Was that any indicator? Again, they gave up 89 points to Virginia Tech in that basketball game. I'm curious to see how the tempo the game's played at tonight.
Moreover, they gave up 53 in the second half. Purdue at halftime looked like they were going to cruise to a win, and Virginia Tech may be a little overrated. And the next thing you do is you come back to it. I think it was a Sunday night football game. It might have been the Bears-Vikings game, I think it was. And so I was flipping back and forth. And the next thing you know, Virginia Tech goes on this massive run, and they're up by 6. And you're like, well, what the hell happened to Purdue?
Yeah.
So maybe there's a little bit of a Jekyll Hyde going on here, but there's no doubt that if they get into a scoring game, a high-scoring type game with flow, Purdue is not punchless. Well, they have a big-time player that has been the focus of Florida State's film sessions, I know, for the last few days, and somebody we'll be talking about all broadcast long today during the court report.
Yeah, without question. By the way, tonight's game, if you're wondering, I don't know why. Do you care about whether or not the ACC wins the ACC Big Ten Challenge? I do. I don't know why I do. You know what I think it is? Because we won it forever.
Yeah.
The ACC won it every year, forever and a day, until it didn't. And heading into tonight's game, the series is tied up at 4 games apiece. 6 of the 8 games have already been played, having been decided by 4 points or less. That's pretty amazing. Nebraska upset Clemson. I think a lot of you saw that on Monday night, 68-66. That was at the Little John, Tom. Penn State, I mentioned last night, the game against Virginia Tech, 63-62 in State College. Really weird ending again. Virginia Tech just making poor decisions, poor passes, poor shots, poor everything. That had to have been unsettling for a fan, obviously, of Virginia Tech. Michigan State beaten by Louisville in overtime, 82-78. That was a game that Louisville had dominated for much of that second half. I flipped away to watch another basketball game, came back over to that basketball game, saw it was going to overtime, thought, damn you, Louisville, you're going to choke this away, but they don't. Michigan State turning the basketball over most of the night.
I caught the end of that game, and that was as free throws to get a 2-score advantage were going up for Chris Mack's crew, because I thought I was going to tune in and see the beginning of Indiana and Duke, but that game just had gone so long that you joined Indiana and Duke in progress. And to answer your question, no, I don't really care all that much if the ACC wins it. However, if an ACC team loses in upset fashion, I do get a little angry. I'm like, well, what are you doing messing around?
You're not holding up to your end of the bargain
So,
here.
like, in a way,
you
yes.
do.
I don't, but mostly no. I mean, I don't really care. If Duke loses, I smile.
Duke did not. They ran away with it, as one might suspect. And, by the way, on that front, did we have just not another classic Coach K moment? Chastising Duke fans about their expectations. Just shut up, man.
Hey, listen.
It's the worst, Tom
Listen.
Lane. It's the worst.
You guys need to calm down. It wasn't always like this here.
Can you imagine you lose a basketball game and somebody on the message boards at Duke commented about some poor decisions and poor shot selections against Gonzaga, the game I talked about the other day, and you feel the need to come out and respond to that in some way? Hey, newsflash, my man. Most people expect Duke to compete for the national championship every season. And you know why? They should. They should. Because you've built that. And you're not a victim of your own success. I love bringing this up when coaches do this. When you build a monster, the way that Coach Krzyzewski has built a monster, and you have the number 1, 2, and 3 projected players in the NBA draft on your roster, yeah, man, people think you're supposed to win. That's how it works.
You notice, too, that Duke's court gets brighter every year? That thing is like white now. It looks like a hockey rink. If you go back and look at the snare shot versus what they're playing on now,
what's going on there?
Just keep whiting that thing up a little bit more. I don't know.
I've got a joke that's inappropriate. It's the Jeff Cameron Show.
Listen, son.
/ Tallahassee Game Day. I'll get
with the court report.
With the court report. I'll figure it out. Beep, beep. I'm doing some show here. More in a moment. Stay with us. Interesting note here as we go behind enemy lines. Thanks to our friends at the law offices of Jose Fernandez, offices Tallahassee and Miami. They don't get paid until you do. Jose Fernandez, law offices. Jose Fernandez, I should say. Real quick, this is fascinating. Couple little nuggets here, trivia-wise. It's been 13 years since Florida State took on Purdue. Both teams have the same head coaches from that first matchup. That's interesting, and that Matt Painter is still there at Purdue, and he was at the time in his inaugural season with the Boilermakers, first time that they met, and then, of course, Leonard Hamilton has been here for 37 years. 37, Tom. Looking spry after all these years.
He eclipsed Bowden's run last year. Yeah,
it is remarkable. So that said, last year this was a Boilermaker team that was very good, 30-7, as you guys may recall, 15-3 in the Big Ten. They finished second in a second-place tie, really, with Ohio State. And they were seeded number 2 in the East Regional. They had a center, you may recall him, 7'2" center Isaac Haas. He was lost to injury in the round of 32 versus Butler. They were defeated in the Sweet 16 by Texas Tech, and eventual champion Villanova would win that regional that they were in. They lost 4 starters from that squad. Yay! All to graduation. It accounted for nearly 60% of their scoring, 60%, nearly 60% of their made three-pointers as well, over 52% of their rebounding, 56% of their assists, 53% of their steals. They lost a lot, guys, but they recruit well, and they're talented. They did bring a starter back, and he's good. It's junior guard Carson Edwards, top vote getter of the AP's preseason All-American team. Edwards averaged 18.5 points per game and 2.8 rebounds per game, assists, per game. You just go through his numbers and you see he's really, really good. He's averaging 25.3 points per game currently while shooting 45% from the field, 41% from beyond the arc, and 92% from the free throw line. Leads the team in assists and steals. So if you're going to get a player back after losing 4 of your 5 starters, you want that guy back.
Yeah, and he's just 6'1", but he's wide. He can create space for himself. That's the thing. At 6'1", you better be able to generate space on your own. And the Virginia Tech game proved just that. He is trigger happy. Whether or not he is scoring, he will still shoot. So that turns him into a volume scorer.
Shoot or shoot, baby.
Well, on poor nights, he is a volume scorer, definitely. But he is not afraid one bit. And one thing that I saw, he jumped right off the television screen against Virginia Tech, is even when he's trying to generate a three-point look, I'm not saying it's Steph Curry or anything like that, but it reminds me of Steph Curry at the college level because he can generate space. The question is, against Florida State's length tonight, if he's trying to do that and we get the right defender out there, what can they do to shut him down from the perimeter? We'll see, though, with the drives, because we were dribble drive all day against Villanova, and it didn't go so well for us. I fear, unless we have some help defense in the paint, this guy might carve us up a little bit in that regard.
Well, it's always a problem when you got a guy that can create off the bounce. That's something that all teams struggle with. You know, I noted that a criticism of Florida State's teams recently defensively has been that they can be beat off the bounce. Dribble drive really hurts this team. That hurts every team. That's the effectiveness of a dribble drive, of a guy that can score off the bounce, who can create space, who can create for others because of quickness off the bounce. That's, it used to be that when you watched college basketball, one of the things you were watching when you were trying to gauge whether or not a 3 or a 4, a wing player could make it in the NBA was whether or not they could get their own shot. And part of that is creating space through quickness and dribble drive capability.
Once again, to that end, that he's not afraid. So you hear he has 26 points and 7 assists against Virginia Tech, and that's a top 20 Virginia Tech team at the time. You go, whoa, that's really impressive. And it is a very good night. 26 and 7 is awesome, but he had 6 turnovers. He was 3 of 11 from beyond the arc. He was 9 of 21 from the field. I mean, again, if it's not going his way, he's not going to stop. He will get to his plateaus, but the question is, how efficiently is he going to get to those plateaus?
Unfortunately, through his career, very efficiently. So it's not often that he's that bad. And so far this year, again, shooting 45% from the field and over 41% or 41% from beyond the arc. So he's usually pretty good. And he'll make his free throws, more importantly. The other 4 starters for Purdue are guys that were on the team a year ago, coming off the bench from last year's season, including a big 7-footer. So we got another tall team here that can match up a little bit. 7'3" center Matt Harms comes in, averaging just over 8 points a game, almost 5 rebounds a game, and just over a block a game. They got a 6'6" shooting guard in Ryan Klein. He, too, is a scorer, by the way. The other kind of significant scorer at over 14 points a game. 3 assists per game as well. They got a 6'8" player who's a grad transfer from Dartmouth, and Evan Boudreau, I should say. Boudreau is averaging over 11 points per game. Nice player as well.
He's a good player along the glass too. He doesn't play a ton of minutes, but if you put it to an average per 30, he's a double-double player. So tonight on the glass, where Florida State has been dominant of late, I think Boudreau will be somebody who challenges Florida State.
It'll be cool to see if whether or not this is a team that stacks up well against Purdue, who has length. They have shooting touch. They have speed. They have size. This start to the season in the non-conference has been rigorous for Florida State. Tonight, I think all numbers, talent, recruiting rankings, all the things that we're providing for you here about what this team is or is not suggest this is another great test. And early in the season, I talk about getting angry when you lose because expectations have shifted. In truth, you're able to quickly put it in perspective. You want to win these games, and Florida State's only lost one of them so far. But the truth is you love that they're being this kind of tested by different types of teams, too. Big teams, quick teams, long teams, all of that's been on the table. Well-coached, ranked teams. That's really going to serve you well when you get into ACC play, when you're battle-tested the way Florida State's being battle-tested in the non-conference to start the season. Tonight's another one of those.
Well, it would serve you well if you get a win tonight, too, of course, because something that we'll be discovering for the first time that's kind of redundant is the net rankings, the NET rankings that the NCAA is using this year in lieu of the RPI. That's right. There is a new system of measurement. And if you go ask any stat heads, any basketball heads, about what the initial rankings looked like when they came out this week.
When Ohio State was ranked number 1?
Disaster. They say this is a disaster because it doesn't weigh things correctly. Fundamentally speaking, it values wins over strength of schedule. So if you schedule a bunch of patsies in December, that's not going to kill you later in the season. Should be interesting to see how that all boils out. But for Florida State's purposes, if the net is going to be something that the NCAA truly considers when you actually get to March Madness, if there isn't enough blowback, wins matter greatly. Even if they are against tougher opponents in the old days, an RPI loss against a top 20 or 30 team would boost your status.
Do you remember that this is the exact opposite of what they were trying to get teams to do, coaches to do? Coaches like Leonard Hamilton who had to go back and say, well, I guess we got to tweak our formula for the RPI because we're not doing it right. We need to schedule tougher non-conference teams because clearly wins aren't making the difference, but rather who you play and what they go on to do. Remember that? The opponent of the opponent and all that straw that stirs the drink stuff that we had to talk about forever because you began to realize that a certain win total was no longer nearly as important as you once thought it to be. And now what you're saying is that, in fact, the opposite is true, at least initially.
Well, here are a few thoughts from Nate Silver, 538, and he knows how to run models, that's for sure. Just look at the 2016 gen election. He was giving some candidate a little bit more of a chance than the rest of the country was, and he's like, see, I'm telling you guys,
right.
The numbers are the numbers. He says, these are the worst rankings I have ever seen in any sport ever.
Great.
Quote, unquote. NCAA needs to go completely back to the drawing board. He also throws some 4-letter words out there saying how terrible this is. It's going to ruin this sport if the NCAA sticks to the NET rankings.
Well, that was Behind Enemy Lines, brought to you by the law offices of Jose Fernandez. Offices Tallahassee, Miami. They don't get paid until you do. All right, Tallahassee Game Day Court Report returns momentarily.
on sale this Friday at 10 a.m. at Ticketmaster.com, Veterans Memorial Arena box office, or by phone. 1-800-745-3000. The Stones.
At San Miguel Mexican Restaurant, they take pride in their authentic Mexican cuisine. Over 25 lunch specials under $8 available daily. Come and enjoy their food with great company, an old-fashioned rustic Mexican setting, and a cold cerveza. San Miguel, 2020 Tharp Street.
You know Tasty Pastry for the wonderful special occasion cakes and delicious pastries. But do you know that they have a great selection of casseroles for dinner? Favorites like shepherd's pie, chicken pot pie, chicken parmesan, beef stroganoff, and many more. They also have breakfast sandwiches, egg casseroles, and quiche in many flavors available for takeout. Located at 1355 Market Street. Tasty Pastry Bakery, a Tallahassee tradition since 1963.
I'm Michael Blank, attorney with the Law Office of Jose Fernandez. If you've been in an accident, I know this can be a scary and confusing time. Our firm specializes in handling all types of accident and injury cases. Let us guide you through the process and get you the compensation you deserve. Call 855-HOSE-305 to make an appointment for your free consultation today. If you can't come to us, we can come to you, day or night. Call us now, 855-HOSE-305, the Law Office of Jose Fernandez. We don't get paid unless you do. Offices, Tallahassee, Miami. Se habla español. JRFinjury.com.
Mm-hmm. You smell that?
I smell football.
No, dude, that's mellow mushroom.
Football season is in the air, and Mellow Mushroom is cooking up all their favorites to help you do tailgating right. Don't drag out that grill and cooler. Just load up your tailgate crew and leave the preparations to them. With daily food and drink specials, plus loads of TVs and cool AC, the closest place to the stadium is also the best spot in town. Come before the game to fill up on homemade pizza, subs, and calzones, or come after to celebrate another Seminole victory with a full bar, huge selection of domestic, import, and craft beers, and a restaurant full of passionate Seminole fans.
Tallahassee Game Day Court Report is brought to you by Jerry's Cigar Shop. Enjoy a fine cigar and cold beer in their giant sports lounge. Jerry'sCigarShop.com.
All right, it's time for the Subway Sub of the Week. By the way, that pertains to Florida State basketball players, but obviously our friends at Subway on board sponsoring this segment as their right to do. Their right to do. Popular show, the Jeff Cameron Show / Tallahassee Game Day Court Report. They're raising the stakes. All new Chipotle cheesesteak on Sunflower Crunch bread. Here's what I'll tell you. Just go get the wrap. Go get the Caesar wrap, the chicken Caesar wrap. It's tasty. If you haven't had that yet, go to one of your local Subways. They're everywhere here. You can find them rather easily. Stop in and find out what I'm talking about. Our thanks to Subway. The Subway's Sub of the Week. All right, so that's Sub of the Week. Because Leonard Hamilton plays so many players, who do you think is vital tonight? Well, you know, it's interesting. You bring it up. I don't really look at a starting five for Florida State because, again, he's going to use a lot of different players and in different ways than you think a lot of times too. I mean, you were talking about it, Polite getting so much time these days.
It's crazy.
He would be the answer to the question right now because he's getting so many minutes, and if that continues, he'll be the Sub of the Week. But wouldn't you argue then that any number of these other guys who need to step up, like Savoy?
Savoy needs to step up. I think David Nichols needs to step up. This is somebody who was brought in to be the platoon guard along with Trent Forrest. And by that, I mean the reserve for Trent Forrest, but somebody who could give you 10 to 20 minutes a night without breaking a sweat. And right now, he's shooting just 26.9% from the field for the season. There is some life in his game. You can see the pull-up jumper is there. That's something he likes to go to. But he does not look comfortable with the speed of this game yet.
Not at all right now.
You hope he grows into that. I mean, he's here just now, just for this season. And C.J. Walker, for all of his faults, could take over a game 1 out of 5. David Nichols has not proven to be that yet. So if you're looking for a sub to improve against tough competition, maybe David Nichols doesn't do it tonight, but you got to look forward to the next 6 weeks or so and see, can number 11 grow as we try and get our rotation ironed out here?
And we'll continue on that subject. Vassell's got to be better too. And so, you know, you got guys that you brought in that you're excited about. There's no way to say that through 6 games they are not going to get it done. and they've all had their moments. But at the same time, you want a little bit more from those three guys.
I guess they like Polite for his defense. I'm still getting used to watching him out there. He looks a little awkward to be on the ball defending, but against LSU was an overtime game. He played 21 minutes, but you recall a lot of those were down the stretch. And then against Villanova on Sunday, he played 25 more. So he must be doing the right things in practice because he only shot 2 of 6 from the field in both of those games. A couple of costly turnovers. He only had one in each game, but I can remember them both. So we'll see if Anthony Polite continues to grow in this rotation. The minutes are certainly going up, but you've got to find some answers until Phil Kofer gets back. The good news about Phil Kofer and the injury is he was seen jumping around a little bit in Orlando, did not have a walking boot on, so perhaps he's ahead of schedule and getting back into the lineup. Really need him to be fresh by ACC play.
Well, and again, one thing, it's hard to be patient. We're coming out of a sport where patience isn't a virtue, right? You only have 12 games to play in a season. You got to make sure you get it done and get it done now, and we need to see change at various places. And obviously, you talk about an uptick in play when you come off a bad game. But in basketball, it is a lot different, and you do have the opportunity to watch players grow into it, even when you're in the midst of a tough stretch where you feel like, oh, man, I don't know, we've got 3 or 4 big games coming up. Need these kids to step up. Frankly, they don't have to step up right off the bat. You can evaluate this team over the next 6 to 12 games. I mean, you got a lot of time. Things do emerge. We're off to a very, very good start. So at 5-1, you feel real good about where the team's at. You feel good about that win over LSU. You realize that, again, you mentioned no boot for Kofor in Orlando, so a key cog to what you're trying to do, key player, it will be coming back.
He changes everything about how somebody defends you in the half court. Absolutely.
Yeah, and so this is a group that we think will only get better. Look, one thing is for certain, and it happened more than once through the 6 games, and that's why I said what I did about pace earlier in the show. Teams are not going to let Florida State do what they did last year, which is get up and down the damn floor. And we loved watching that, and it is clearly a mandate now when defending Florida State that they will hurt you because they can finish around the rim, and they've got athletes in space that get out. If they run, they catch the ball. First of all, it's a big deal because for years we had guys that we would try to run. They couldn't catch the ball. You got athletes now that catch the ball and finish around the rim in transition, Tom. So teams are trying to take that away big time. And then I think it's important that, like you said, if you're gonna see an uptick in offensive production, it's going to be because a Trent Forrest gets back to taking the ball to the basket.
Well, those equal points if he does that, not just because he's such a great finisher around
Free throw
the rim.
line.
He's 91.3% from the stripe right now. Did you know that? I mean,
I did not know 91%. No.
Given how uneven he was, he got better in the NCAA tournament last year, but he's made 21 of his 23 this season. Terrence Mann, is right now 81.8%. He's taken just 22, but he's hit 18 of them, and those are 2 guys that you need to attack the 10. I don't know, again, that tonight's the night. The opponent is good.
Real good, and they have one of the best scorers in the country. So you're going to have a problem here in that you're going to have to really, really work on defense and really, really work to rebound because they've got length. I think this is another game that ends up being nowhere near where we want it to be. Doesn't mean you can't win it. But I like watching us when we're scoring in the 80s. Everybody does. It's a lot of fun. I don't think that happens tonight, Tom. I think you probably see another game maybe in the 60s or 70s at best.
Well, and you wonder, just talking about Polite's minutes and how they've gone up 21-25 from Friday and Sunday, is it because we're playing so many games in such a short amount of time?
Sure.
I mean, even in the NCAA tournament, you play 2 games a weekend and then you wait 3 or 4 days. But when you're playing in that November tournament season, you play 3 games in 4 days in a lot of circumstances. And then we had one last Monday, and then here we go again tonight. It's a lot of basketball to be played. So maybe the rotation shrinks a little bit because you were saving him for this opportunity. Maybe it doesn't. Fouls will dictate that with Leonard Hamilton. We know that always dictates the way he rotates in the first half. But it should be interesting to see against this opponent. How long do you stay with a Nichols? How long do you stay with a Polite? And do you just close the ranks and play 5 or 6 deep?
I think that what you'll see tonight, unfortunately, if you're making your way out to the TLC-CC, is a lot of free throws attempted for both basketball teams. It's something both can excel at because of their ability to get to the basket and their length, and guys get fouled, and you got to make your free throws. That'll be on display tonight. That sounds like a simpleton way of looking at the game. Everybody can say you got to make your free throws, but when you get to the line, the way that Florida State does, obviously you got to cash it in. And then I think the same thing is true of what Purdue will do here. That I will also let you know this, though. the number one thing I wanted to see at the start of this season was what we had at the end of last year. We were all devastated about Obiagu transferring, listening to a handler who told him to go to Seton Hall, and he goes to Seton Hall. And I don't blame that kid. That's a tough set of circumstances. It's a shame because from what I understand, he didn't want to go. So it's kind of a sad story. Wish him well. But it was a devastating loss, I thought, at the time for Florida State because of what he did around the glass and his ability to block shots and his athleticism and his quick bounce and all that stuff that you saw from him. You realized, man, if he ever gets a modicum of offense to his game, he's going to be a dominant player because he's already dominant on the defensive end. So why do I say that? I say that to say this. When you lost that, you wondered, well, man, everything that shined so bright in that postseason run to the Elite Eight really started with the defense. Really started with Florida State's ability to get stops, something they hadn't embraced during the course of a 9-9 ACC campaign. And then when they did that, it changed who they were. Well, through 6 games, they're defending.
Yeah.
And they're able to do that still without Obiagu, and I'm really excited about that. And tonight's another great test along those lines. Purdue can really score.
Well, one would have thought entering the season that Fiondu Kabengele was going to be somebody that you lean on a lot because Obiagu's gone and Kofor, of course, is hurt. You know, in the last 4 games, he hasn't averaged 20 minutes on the floor. I just find that interesting. You talk
Feels
about
like he's out there more than
rotation.
that, though. He's out there in important moments.
Because of the impact he's had. He scored in double digits all but the first game of the season against Florida, the blowout. He had just 5, but since then he's had 12, 18, 10, 15, and 11. So he's been in the middle of things. He's been drawing fouls. He's been around the rim. I mean, they had the thunderous dunk in the first half against Villanova. But right now, the minutes say that he's a rotational player and not one of your starters. That's just kind of interesting against early season expectations.
It is. And, I think, too, that I love Raekwon Gray. I like his attitude. I like him as a player.
Ooh,
I think
got a lot of raw potential.
Yeah, doesn't he? It's been fun to watch that. We were talking about subs and the Subway sub of the week or the night. Raekwon Gray can't be ignored here in this conversation because he's going to be, I think, a really good basketball player for us.
He showed out against LSU. He played 16 that night, but you could see he's got handles for his size.
Gets to the basket. He's lost a lot of weight. He's still a big dude. He's long.
He's still massive,
yeah,
though.
He's still.
He's like that guy in the pickup game. If he's driving, you're like, well, I'm not going to stand in his way.
No.
This guy's 240. What am I doing?
Yeah, let him finish around the rim a little bit more consistently.
He clearly had handles in high school, but he's put on a few, and he's 32.
But he's now lost a few. I want to celebrate the fact that he's lost a few, but he'll be important tonight as well. You're listening to Tallahassee Game Day Court Report, and that was the Subway Sub of the Week. Find a Subway near you and check out one of those chicken Caesar wraps. They're delicious. We'll come back, wrap up the hour in a moment.
Agent in Tallahassee because Joe spends thousands on marketing each month. That means more exposure for your home, resulting in a fast sale for the most money. A lot of set it and forget it approach too, but Joe Manassa markets and manages his listings every single day, which means maximum exposure for your house and more offers on your home. And while the average agent in Tallahassee sells 6 homes per year, Joe's on pace to sell over 600 homes this year. Joe guarantees to sell your home at a price and deadline that you agree to, or he'll have it bought for cash. Call Joe to find out more about this phenomenal program. Not only that, working with Joe doesn't obligate you to a thing. If he isn't doing his job, he'll let you out of your contract free and clear. But don't worry, that never happens because Joe sells homes quickly and for top dollar. Call the only real estate agent I would call if I needed to sell my home. That's Joe Manassa of Joe Manassa Real Estate. Call Joe Manassa today at 850-888-0888. That's 850-888-0888. Or online at manassa.com, MANAUSA.com, and start packing.
This Day in Sports brought to you by Superlube. Superlube, 19 Tallahassee area locations. Quick, convenient, no appointment necessary.
This Day in Sports History.
November 28th, 1980. The Alabama Crimson Tide head coach Paul Bear Bryant broke the record for most wins by a college football coach. He would earn his record-breaking 315th career victory with a 28-17 win over Bama's biggest rival, Auburn. Bryant finished his career with 323 wins. His record was eventually broken by 4 other coaches, in recent years.
This football season, cater your tailgate with Guthrie's. Guthrie's is a family-owned and operated restaurant that has been proudly in business for over 50 years. Since 1978, everybody has been falling hard for those golden fried chicken fingers, crispy fries, buttery Texas toast, creamy coleslaw, sweet tea, and of course, the signature sauce. Guthrie's is perfect for a school night dinner, tailgate party, or both. 2 Tallahassee locations, North Monroe Street or 1818 West Tennessee. Guthrie's Chicken, creator of the original chicken finger box and sauce.
You know Tasty Pastry for the wonderful special occasion cakes and delicious pastries. But do you know that they have a great selection of casseroles for dinner? Favorites like shepherd's pie, chicken pot pie, chicken parmesan, beef stroganoff, and many more. They also have breakfast sandwiches, egg casseroles, and quiche in many flavors available for takeout. Located at 1355 Market Street. Tasty Pastry Bakery, a Tallahassee tradition since 1963.
At San Miguel Mexican Restaurant, they take pride in their authentic Mexican cuisine. Over 25 lunch specials under $8 available daily. Come and enjoy their food with great company, an old-fashioned rustic Mexican setting, and a cold cerveza. San Miguel, 2020 Tharp Street.
College basketball is in full swing, and so is the fun and games at Pockets Pool and Pub. Follow your favorite team throughout the season on any of their 25 TVs. Enjoy game day drink specials featuring domestic pitchers for $9. Pockets has a full bar and locally brewed craft beers, the biggest wings in town, and a brand new menu. If you're looking for something different, visit Sharky's Lounge, the new non-smoking lounge next to Pockets. Pockets Pool and Pub, full bar, lots of TVs, and more. 2810 Share Road, or call them at 385-7665. With football season in full swing, don't forget about fishing our local waterways after the games. Fish are still biting regardless of the score. Sea Quarters Marina, Carabel, Florida. Open 7 days a week from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. The marina has a ship store, which includes fuel, bait, tackle, ice, and all of your fishing supplies for the trip. Both diesel and non-ethanol fuel is available. Free Wi-Fi and pump out with boat slip rental. Sea Quarters Marina, 501 St. James Avenue, Carabel, Florida, 697-8400. Visit them online at seaquartersmarina.com.
Hi, I'm Chris York with Monogram Art. While our name mentions monograms, we are a lot more than that. We offer a full line of corporate apparel to businesses and organizations, and we carry clothing brands such as Cutter & Buck, Nike Golf, Port Authority, and caps from Richardson, Outdoor Cap, Ahead, Yupong, and many more. We have the ability to create custom embroidered apparel that your employees will be proud to wear. So swing by our showroom at 2522 Capitol Circle Northeast or find us online at monogramart.com. Let us help you wear your brand.
After a long day of being outdoors tailgating and watching football, what's more refreshing than a nice cold shake? After the game, stop by Grub Burger Bar and try one of their hand-spun, crafted, or spiked shakes. With flavors like Nutella, salted caramel, ET, and the kitchen sink, they are sure to quench any thirst. Show proof of your game experience and get a free non-spiked shake. Don't forget about Grub Burger's 2 daily happier hours. $5 margaritas, bottled and draft beers, signature cocktails, house wines, and spiked shakes. Head to Grub Burger after the game, 3425 Thomasville Road.
Tallahassee has always loved the Corner Pocket Bar and Grill on Appalachia Parkway for its delicious food, cold drinks, and Vegas wall of 8 50-inch flat-screen TVs. Now, the Corner Pocket gives you a new reason to start off every week at the CP. Monday Night Mania. Enjoy 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers of beer every Monday night from 7:30 till 11 p.m. That's right, 50-cent wings and $5 domestic pitchers as you enjoy Monday night on the gridiron. The Corner Pocket Bar and Grill and Monday Mania. Tallahassee loves the Corner Pocket.
Tallahassee.
You know, we talked about the likability of a team and why is it this team is so fun to watch, not just style of play and overriding skill, but there was the buy-in factor. And one thing that was evident early on, there was a game a couple games ago, a few games back when, you had Kamaji lead the team in shots for a game. And this kind of stuff happens a lot. When you watch this team, you'll look and say, nobody's demanding the basketball. Nobody is one-on-one isolated, trying to take over a basketball game, partly because they don't really have that player right now. I mean, we've had some guys come through here where that was certainly true. where you could say tonight it was his night. He's the guy that can dominate any given night with this team. You get a kid that can maybe take over a game because of the matchup that he has. But there's no true dominant player on the floor for Florida State. I think Trent Forrest is a unique talent and is going to play in the NBA. His body type suggests as much, and he's a smart kid. But he's not a dominant scorer for any given night. He's not going to take over a game and score 30. And you really don't have that guy. Terrence Mann in a given night could be a matchup for somebody. Maybe if somebody gets hot hitting threes, you got that guy. They don't have it.
Well, if Terrence is going to get to 18, 20 points, it's because he's 6'8" from the field and he shoots a bunch of free throws. I think Trent could eventually be that player. But I think right now you're just dealing with a team that's trying to figure things out. It's not just the coaching staff with the rotation. I think it's also the players as different bodies come on the court. It's like, well, who is this guy? Who is that guy? Let me know who I can go to when we get into ACC season. We're down 4. We need a bucket because they're on an 8-2 run. Who do I turn to in that moment?
I don't know who that's going to be really this year because this was something we echoed last year, when we talked about the team. We didn't really see a guy that we said, well, who's going to hit that shot?
MJ Walker is a candidate because of his raw ability, but confidence is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Savoy has started slow. We talked about that earlier. Need him to be a little bit more consistent. Kofor won't be afraid when his time comes, when he's back on the court.
It'll be great when he comes back. They could use an experienced guy like that who really, if he shoots anywhere close to what he shot last year, will be a huge shot in the arm.
But consider we've seen this team play all types of games so far this season against different levels of opponents. So Florida's a good team, a little bit raw, but they had enough returning, and we blew them out the TLC-CC. And then you have a game like Canisius or UAB where sometimes it gets a little bit tight on the scoreboard, and then we push for a quick run, and then it's not close again.
Good night, Irene, yeah.
You can tell we're kind of just keeping enough as little paces we need to win a basketball game. And then these last two we played against LSU and Villanova that are total 40 minutes. In the case of LSU, 45-minute grinding style type of game. It's just interesting because the coaching staff has a bunch of these in a short period of time recently, but they've got to sort out a whole lot. If you're going to play a grinding game, who do I go to? If you're going to play a wide-open game, who am I going to go to? And we'll see what Purdue does tonight. Clearly, they have the ability to score in the 80s or the 90s, but do they really want to? Would they rather play this game to where it's 69-65?
Yeah, no, I think that's what they're going to want to do, and they got a prolific scorer. They know who their go-to guy is when they come in here. There's no question you're going to be watching a prolific scorer. So there's some fun in that, by the way. One of the things about playing in a great league and playing in the ACC Big Ten Challenge is that you get a lot of top-notch talent, unique talent to roll into your building on a fairly regular basis. So tonight's no different. I'm looking forward to it, making our way over there for tonight's matchup. I'll probably have to meet you at in the blinding vista there, Tom, in the second half after I get done with the golf. Quick plug for that for those of you that aren't basketball heads. If you want to listen to Trey Jones and I, Trey Jones, the head golf coach at Florida State, we will be on tonight on the PGA Tour Network on SiriusXM with Beyond the Tips.
I think the key tonight, Carson Edwards is going to get 20-plus points.
Yes, he will.
One would expect.
Yep.
How many shots does it take to get there? That's the key number for Florida State tonight. If he's inefficient, we are in business. But if he's doing so by getting open looks and hitting some threes early on in this game, well, then we could be in for a long night because he might not just get to 20. It might be to 30-plus.
MJ Walker going to have a good night tonight. I think the confidence is going to come back there, and he may step up and be the guy that does more than just hits a three. I need him to utilize that skill, his length, his overall athleticism, and get to the basket as well. Nothing like getting to the free throw line, knocking down a couple of those, beginning to feel better about yourself.
He seems to like the first 5 to 6 minutes of basketball games,
doesn't he? Man, you better hit those shots early, then you maybe get something from him late. I don't know. He'll defer a little bit later on when teams begin to shift their defense to his direction, but that opens things up for other people. So you're right. Good work out of you, Tom. Good work, Matthew. Thanks to all of you for listening. Thanks to our sponsors here on Tallahassee Game Day Court Report. We do this for select Florida State games, not every game, but I don't know what the next one.
I think the next one will be New Year's. I think it's the Miami basketball game that we have second week after the new year.
Looking forward to it. All right, be well, everybody. Have a great night. What's coming up right here on these airwaves, sir?
A whole bunch of ESPN radio programming on a Wednesday night. You can look forward to tomorrow, though. Thursday Soccer Guys start at 6 p.m., and then, of course, we have Thursday Night Football between the Saints and the Cowboys.
No front row Knowles?
Oh, tonight's Wednesday.
Come on, man.
Oh, my God. They're going to be so mad at me that I forgot that.
My goodness gracious.
Tom and KJ are in the studio up next.
I served it up. I was like, what's coming up next, Tom? I thought
there was a whole lot of nothing.
I was going to say front row Knowles, and I was like, He's not saying it. He's still not saying it. Maybe I'm wrong. Front row knows.
I pivoted too. I was like, the hell with this.
Stay tuned.